Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Unorthodox Film Podcast, where we discuss movies that meet specific genres, topics, or scenarios, and we recommend movies that we enjoy in hopes that we introduce our listeners to movies that they haven't seen or heard of. With our guests, we discuss movies that we have seen before and engage in conversation based on our memory and recollection of our enjoyment of those titles. At the end of each episode, we roll a dice and select one of the recommended titles to watch together. We will then discuss that film on our next episode with fresh eyes and determine whether the film holds up, as well as explore the film in a more detailed and critical discussion. Hello, everyone. I am Bradford Clark, and with me is my co-host, Joseph Quick.
What up, y'all?
And tonight, our guest is actor, writer, and director, Jezar Riches. Hello, Jezar.
Hello, how are you?
I am fabulous. How are you today?
I'm actually doing quite well. No complaints.
Tell our listeners a little bit about you in case they don't know who you are.
Well, I'm Jezar Riches. As spoken before, I am a writer, director, as well as an actress. But little things you might not know about me is I'm a gamer. So I do game on my free time. And I'm a social media influencer. So, yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's me in a
welcome.
nutshell.
And you love movies.
And listen, movies is my favorite thing to do. It's my all-time favorite thing to do. Literally. If you say, what do you want to do for fun? I want to go watch a movie.
It has always been a pleasure working with you, and I'm glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Last week we made recommendations for 2000s action movie films with Nate McDonald, and randomly we selected Hot Fuzz from 2007. So that was the movie that we watched just moments ago, and we will be starting our episode off talking about that.
Hot Fuzz!
If you did not watch Hot Fuzz before listening to this episode, you can go ahead and skip ahead about 20, 25 minutes or so while we discuss it in the event that you don't want it spoiled, because we will be spoiler heavy
Spoil the shit out of it,
in
son.
this first segment. And then after that, we will be discussing our recommendations for psychological thrillers with Jezar. We're going to make our list of recs based on that. So let's get right into it with Hot Fuzz. Jezar, first, I'm curious, have you seen Hot Fuzz before?
I did not see Hot Fuzz prior to this.
So what was your fresh reaction coming off of watching it?
Okay, so when it first came on, fun fact is I absolutely love British films. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
actually, I love British
I'm
content.
glad that wasn't lost on you, because
No,
it's so deep in the
It's so
satire.
British.
It's
So British.
Yes, I love British. That's what got me, because I did not know exactly when it came on that it was a satire. After a while, I started realizing, okay, this is a satire. I was like, there's some stuff happening here that definitely should not be happening.
Right.
But yes, I'm a big fan of British content. So
Yeah, I discovered British content through Netflix when I started watching streaming, and their style of humor is so different from ours. And I understand for someone without experience with that, maybe not getting into it right away, because it does take a minute for it to set in.
Yeah.
How cheeky they're being or how subtle they're being.
Yeah.
They like to be clever, so sometimes something that's been said, you're like, what? That makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
And then it's tied into something with context.
Well, so a lot of their slang is rhyme-based, so if it doesn't make sense, you have to figure out what commonplace item or phrase they're rhyming with,
Right.
for it to make
Right.
sense. Like dog and bone means telephone, because you hold, like, it's
Right.
just weird shit. But like, okay, so for me, I've been into the British humor, comedy, and just British entertainment since the 90s, since I was young, because my dad loved Absolutely Fabulous.
Ab Fab.
Yeah, Ab Fab, which is just a great show. And then, of course, Monty Python and all that stuff. Once I
yeah.
really got into it, Mr. Bean and Rowan Atkins and all that.
I love Mr.
Yeah. So obviously, when
Was he a Benny
Shaun
Hill
of the
fan?
Dead, my dad, no. I mean, I am.
You are?
But yeah, and maybe he was, but he didn't really watch it around the house. But he's
Sure.
probably already seen them. He's definitely one of those guys.
Right, it's
that
much older.
I've seen it. I don't need to watch it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. For me, when I saw Shaun of the Dead and then Hot Fuzz, I was just like Edgar Wright and.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead was
Sean
probably my
Penn.
intro into like realizing I
They're-
was watching a British movie.
But their marriage, the two of them, the films they do together are just. They're made for me.
Yeah.
And if you enjoy those, then we'll get along just fine.
Jezar, have you seen Shaun of the Dead?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's Hot Fuzz is part of what they call the Cornetto trilogy, and I was just discussing with Joe outside because previously when we mentioned on the episode, I didn't understand where the name Cornetto trilogy came from, because the Cornetto trilogy for our listeners and for you is Shaun of the Dead first, Hot Fuzz, and then
Top of the World.
World's End. The World's End.
Oh, I need to see
Three
that one.
very
Okay.
different movies, but made by the same people. And so, like,
Edgar Wright and
ordinarily,
Sean Pegg,
your
yeah.
trilogies are in some way related. So it's like,
Yeah.
what was this? What was the tie-in? Other than the fact that they're satires of genre pieces, the cornetto was the ice cream that they were eating.
Oh.
It's a king cone. A king cone. They call it cornetto. in
And
the
it dawned
UK.
on me while we were watching this one, and he was like,
drumstick.
do you want anything from the shop? And he goes, cornetto. And I'm like,
That's actually genius.
Right?
You know my brain and wheels are rolling. Like, hold on, I
Yeah.
kind of like that. Especially
Yeah.
because it's like different genres and different.
Now,
I really
as
like
a
that.
filmmaker, you're like, how do I
Yeah.
make a trilogy?
Yeah,
the
without-
only
yeah.
tie-in is
I'm actually
some
really excited about
concession
that.
they stop
Yeah.
at the get at the store.
I like that. I really do.
Dr.
So-
Pepper trilogy. Or,
this movie was selected as part of our 2000 action movie recommendation list that we did with Nate. And Joe, you recommended this one, right? This was your recommendation.
of course I did.
And yeah, Joe.
I have an 88 percentile win rate on the dice. roll.
Yes, he
And
does.
we don't roll the dice. You do.
Really?
I don't know how
Oh,
this
this is
happens.
great. Okay.
It's just my luck.
It's
I'm that lucky.
the way it is. But when I was watching it this time through, because it's been probably 5+ more years since I've seen the movie, and I haven't seen it but a couple of times, a handful of times. So I haven't memorized it. This isn't one of the ones where it's like I knew everything going into it today. And I noticed that like the first hour or so, it's a 2-hour movie. The first hour was relatively slow, but I knew that this was an action satire and so forth. So it didn't averse me at all to my watching.
Yeah, there was no action in the first half, but it's still cut like an action movie. Like the way they're telling the story, it's still fast cuts and
Yes,
But with the British humor, it kind of they like counteract each other. Like it was really interesting.
I thought the editing was used very well. It was almost a second character because I think
Oh, it definitely was. This is a point I thought about saying during the movie, so I want to make sure I make it because it's right here with what you're saying. Cinematography wise, it is undeniably an Edgar Wright film, but at the same time, he was able to tie in his style and seamlessly pull off 90s action tropes, like left and right, like hurdle over hurdle, like.
but in
There
a
were
small
so many.
London, small English town, like
You're getting Bad Boys 2, you're getting Point Break, you're getting all the classics in there.
So my question
Definitely some John
with
Woo's flair.
bringing up the pacing as a first-time viewer of the movie, take me through like when we're going through that. Were you starting to hesitate at first, like what's gonna happen?
I definitely love the fast cuts. Fast cuts was keeping me at least interested. I will say this: the opening was strong, and then I say right in that first hour,
Started
the
to
middle,
get soggy in the
yeah,
middle.
it was getting a little. I was like, okay, come on now. But I will say this:
They wanted you to feel droll, though.
But it's important.
It is.
I did learn
It is
how important it
important
was
to
to
the story
stay
arc.
completely awake and pay attention because they go back and revisit so many things, and I was so grateful I caught the things that they had
Yeah,
mentioned in
the
the beginning.
foreshadowing is
the
so
foreshadowing is so
strong.
yes, and
There's
that's
so
my
many
favorite.
layers. And
That's
yeah,
my favorite
I was
when I see
actually-
foreshadowing.
Like for a
Yeah.
first time watch, I was really shocked at how many you caught on. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's a lot of them.
And I bet if I watched it again, because
So that's what that's
Yeah,
my
watch
thought
it
on it.
again.
It's definitely one of those scripts that is designed for a rewatch because, if you miss something the first time, it's gonna be okay. Let me go back and watch it because now I've seen the end.
Yeah.
So that something in the beginning may have new meaning to you, and
Exactly. And I
really
love
did
that.
enjoy.
Those
I
are
really
my,
did enjoy
those are
that.
my favorite. Like
Yeah.
anything that you have to go back to. So that's why I was like, okay, it might have gotten a little slow at points, but you definitely should stay awake and watch it because those things are going to mean something in the end.
What I totally forgot until this watch was like the whole middle part where like townspeople just started getting killed. Like the basic, I guess the basic plot is like you hear that this guy is like an overachieving cop. They excuse him from the city and reposition him in the countryside.
Mate, you gotta get out of London. You're making us all look bad, eh?
And that's it. He's 400% higher in ticket writing than anyone else, and it's just his department can't handle it anymore. They transfer him. He gets to this new place, and it's a lot slower, and so it doesn't meet his expectations of what he does. He's an overworker, an overthinker, and so he starts to overanalyze the town, which seemingly on the surface looks boring and normal.
Yeah.
And then the more he looks, the more he notices, and things start to escalate from there until
He takes
people just
a
start
kid in
dying.
for pissing on the street that he just kicked out of the pub.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you find out this kid got murdered.
His first arrest
any
is his
arrest
partner.
gets murdered.
Yeah.
Except for the first arrest.
His first arrest
because
is
it was
his partner.
Because it was the villain's son.
Yeah. So there's for a simple comedy.
Yeah.
It's involved. It's really involved, and there's a lot of cleverness in the script. How did you
'cause
feel
you know,
about
like,
the script writing?
Yeah, I love that. That's what I'm saying. So like even the big dumb guy. Remember when they first introduced him? What was
Yes.
And he mentioned him being something like a child or something like
Yes.
that. So then when they get in this fight, he throws a toy at him, and now that he's distracted by this toy. Fabulous. I love something like that. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause by law, if you hadn't seen that part, you'd be like, why did that bear distract him? And they're like, because it's a toy. And he's, so
Right, and he's a child.
Yeah, or the store sign when they're like, one child in at a time. And so all these kids come running in and she's like, oh no, there's kids in the store. It's stuff like that makes, to me, real comedy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's funny because you had something to go back to like, okay.
Yeah, it's planting
I
a
didn't
seed.
see it as her saying, "Oh shit, there's kids in the store," and she ran back down. I saw it as they ran up and grabbed her because they were sick of waiting in line to go in her store.
Oh well, so
Because she doesn't step out, she gets like yanked.
Yeah, she's
Oh, she
yanked
did
out.
get yanked.
She
Okay,
is
I
yanked
thought.
out.
Okay, so for
No,
a minute,
but
I thought she
either
got back.
way.
But it is still funny because they
Yeah,
did.
either way,
They
I
did
think
focus
like
on
this
the sign.
perspective.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
be funny in several ways. That's great. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, she did get snatched back, but I wasn't sure she got mad. They was in there. What
It
happened?
would work
but-
either way.
That's really funny.
That's great.
The action elements start. First off, I do think that they were always there. Like we were talking about the editing, right? The music was always there. So, and it was used subversively in the way that like an intense soundtrack was being played with the most banal thing happening.
And
right?
that's how it was undeniably Edgar Wright. I mean, watch Baby Driver. He knows how to shoot to music, right? Like, he's very good at it. But with like Baby Driver, that was a focus in the movie. This was just that natural talent he has,
Right.
lying underneath, nice and subtle, which made it was just beautifully done.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say was your favorite part?
Oh, okay. So obviously, I'm an action nut. I love action films. So to see this whole end play out, all these different action pieces with the town fighting like this, and it's so funny because the whole town is senior citizens. So what the heck?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
why are these senior citizens badasses? Is crazy to me.
And strapped. in
Yeah, all those
England.
strapped.
Like, they don't
The
even
priest
have
pulling out the
cars.
little finger guns
Yeah.
and everything. Oh, it was the end for me. Obviously, was
It was
probably
worth the
my
wait
favorite.
for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a nice build up for sure.
I agree. I like a lot of elements, but I feel like the end is like it's not the icing on the cake, but it was the weight, right?
Yeah.
All of if the rest
was
of it
a
was cooking,
well-baked cake.
the end was the cake,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
The rest of the movie was waiting for it to be baked and mixed properly,
Yeah,
and it was
well-baked.
important and it was
Yeah.
enjoyable, but definitely when you got to sink your first teeth into it. So if I were to break that further down,
So moist, it don't
for
need
me,
milk.
it was the last fighting sequence when he was fighting Skinner in that little version of the town, which was basically
The
like
model
them
city,
being
yeah.
like, it was like a Godzilla fight with these two in the middle of a city.
It is-
And up to that point, I was counting. I was like, holy shit, man, they're fitting so many action type movies in here, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, they called back to Point Break and Bad Boys 2 a lot, but you had racing sequences, you had
Yeah.
fighting sequences, you had him strapped to the 9 and
It was
walking through.
John Woo.
You had the
Yeah.
Tight,
you had the John Woo jumping with the double guns, then you had him walking Desperado style down
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
town,
with the
you know? So it's like
every action
they
trope.
crammed it all
Literally
in the
every
last
action
20,
trope.
30 minutes. And
They
then
did.
and then to top it off with a Godzilla fight, I thought was like chef's kiss.
And,
It was
and
gorgeous.
for me, it's the best ending to any action fight sequence.
Yeah.
Because, as always, the bad guy's down. The good guy goes to the rescue of the civilian or child or
Mm-hmm.
damsel. In this case, a ginger twat, as the
Yeah, right.
as the villain referred to him. Anyway, and the villain comes back to attack. But in this one,
All
instead
the
of
trip and
another
falls.
fight, he just trips and falls, and there's a sidestep, and he gets impaled through the jaw,
Ooh, that
out
was-
the
that was
mouth,
bad.
with
That
a
was bad.
model church steeple. And then he has
Guys,
this little
this
model.
hurts.
The thrill hurts.
I need some ice cream.
There's the cornetto again, dude.
You know what? And what I can appreciate is the story, because most satires don't have a strong story.
Yes.
You know, not that, and again, it's not that it's one of them deep stories, but
Right.
it was an actual story.
If you
know what I'm
compare
saying?
this to something that is high-end satirical, like a Scary Movie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like the plot is just there to get you to the next scene, whereas this one, the plot gets you to the next joke or
It's
the next.
funny that you use
Exactly.
Scary Movie, because I was going to say, in British satire, they do it a little more proper than the Wayans brothers.
Yeah,
Here in
yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Because really, the Wayans are the king of satire.
Very
here,
much so,
and
very much so.
they are
the
the
States.
modern day.
Yeah. In
the
the
modern
States,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely do the best satires, but
Yes.
normally satires is not about the story. It's basically about the jokes. Where in this one, the story was like you just said, was how you got to the jokes, which is appreciated.
It was for an action movie. It took like a basic formula of, you know, Simon Pegg is the man out of water, right? Big city guy in a small town. We've seen that before.
Right.
He is the cop. We've seen that before. There is the hidden, you know, like underground club or
Cult.
whatever. We've seen that
yeah.
before.
Yeah.
But then to take it that they're all senior citizens, that they've been
Yes.
doing this for 20 years, that the
It's for the fairest
and
village of
and
the
it's
land.
for an award to be the best village in the land.
Yeah, I gotta
Like,
say that because that part of the story wasn't a common story right there. I was like, yeah, I don't know if we all trying to just kill people if they ain't meeting the goals here.
we gotta clean up the neighborhood, man. We have
Exactly.
gotten this award so many
And
times.
really, once you reveal that last layer of the onion of Hot Fuzz, it almost fits into psychological crime thriller. Which we'll be talking about
Maybe.
next.
Yeah, honestly, that you're not wrong with the story
It's a
format.
thin- it's a
because
thin
well,
veil,
even
but-
Yeah.
even the dark, mysterious character, the killer that roams around, is outside of the action element. Not often in an action movie do you get that one stationary, you know, perceived killer going and
Turns
knocking
out
people
to
out.
be probably just the derp guy, but it could be
Ultimately,
any
it
of
was
them.
right.
Could
Yeah.
be whoever
Right.
is in the vicinity.
And that seems more like a screenplay, right? Where you've got the mysterious killer and exactly as it was. So I thought that was cool because it's an additional risk when the rest of the film's already a risk.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, but to me, it was a grand slam.
Have you? I know Joe has. Are you familiar with those two lead actors, Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, outside of maybe Shaun of the Dead?
No, not outside of Shaun of the Dead, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
that's the only one I
they
know.
did.
Yeah.
They were in Shaun of the Dead. Did you know that the three police officers in the very beginning, you had one of them was the guy who played the Hobbit, Bilbo.
He was also the FBI agent in Wakanda forever.
Yep.
Oh,
exactly.
nice. Okay.
The older one, the last one that they called in, that's
Yeah.
Bill Nighy, and he was in Shaun of the Dead. But
He was the stepdad?
Are you a Pirates of the Caribbean fan?
It's not that I'm not a fan, but I would have to watch it more than once. Because I think I've
Here's
only
the thing.
seen like
I'm
the
not a
one.
fan. Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
Davy Jones.
he's Davy Jones. He's the squid.
Oh.
And
He was
okay,
the squid.
do you like
You're not a
Underworld?
fan?
Do you like Underworld with Kate Beckinsale in that?
No.
He was one of the elders. He was Victor.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so you've
he's a
seen him around, but
he's
Just
a
never paid
very
much attention.
It
established
wasn't-
classical English actor.
Yeah.
So to play in this satire comedy and
Yeah.
do just that bit part
Yeah.
was just such a treat.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
'cause
three
his-
of them, because the guy in the middle, what's his name? But he did Hamlet too.
Oh,
and
yes.
a bunch of other stuff.
Yes.
So the middle, there was his immediate supervisor, then the top inspector, then the chief inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those bit roles were played by huge British actors.
Right.
all
Who
so
were
good.
all in Shaun of the Dead. So I know that they're
were, yeah.
Edgar Wright.
They're friendlies for sure.
Fans or whatever. What's happening here?
Janine was played by his ex-fiance. You could just hit a button there.
I was on the space bar, I think.
Yep, yeah.
Janine was played by whom?
By what's her name? Who played Thor and Loki's brother in Thor Ragnarok?
okay.
She's a huge actress.
Yeah.
but you only see her eyes.
Yeah. Oh, the ex-girlfriend from the beginning. I was
Yeah,
running through my head
Janine.
when you said Janine. Like, who is Janine?
His ex-fiance.
Yeah.
In the funny ass scene with all the forensic people
Yeah.
who all look exactly the
Exactly
same.
the same. I'm not Janine. I'm Bob.
Does
That's
Bob
Janine.
look like somebody I would date? I'm dating Fred. And they're
Yeah.
right next to
No,
each
that's
other.
funny.
It looks-
That's so funny. Yeah, that was hilarious.
that whole scene is great.
Yeah, did you know what else thing was really good was the scene when he tried, when he finally turned around and convinced the other police officers what's been going on.
Yeah.
It took nothing, first off. He just said it, and
reliably,
they were like, yeah,
okay, yeah, we're in it. They
haven't been spoke complete cognate was like making fast sense, so yeah.
Yeah, it didn't take
they gave him so much shit, gave him all kinds of crap in the locker rooms. Like, are you guys investigating the murders? And they're like, oh yeah, the murders, okay.
Hey, Angel, let's not be a twat.
But now he's like, hey, your boss is in it. And they're like,
okay.
Oh, yeah, it's good enough. All right, let's quick, let's do it.
Okay, I guess.
I guess we're killing people today.
That was funny. I was like, okay, all right.
And then the realization, because they'd never done real police work, that there's so much paperwork. So the ending when they were like, oh my God, what is happening here? I'll never arrest anyone ever again.
And then my favorite foreshadow of the whole movie, the C-bomb. The sea mine.
Oh, yeah.
Finally explodes. Because they do that like 5 times to you.
Jeez. And we needed that explosion. I kept waiting for like the what is it? Bad guys don't look at explosions.
The walk
moment,
away,
yeah.
But no, they all apparently survived a brick building collapsing.
Instead, we got a Bad Boys 2 house explosion.
Yeah,
and they all cartoonishly just survived.
Definitely a tribute to Michael Bay on that one.
Exactly that.
Oh, so I like Hot Fuzz. I'm glad that I gave it a watch this time, and I probably won't wait as long to watch it again.
Yeah.
Overall, what were your thoughts? Is this a movie that you would recommend to somebody?
I would recommend it. Actually, it was so funny because my family had been trying to tell me to watch it for quite some time because it's one of their favorites.
Okay.
But I was just like,
good to hear that.
Yeah, my brother-in-law, oh my God, he loves movies first off, and that is one of his favorites.
Well, then he's got some good taste.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with this dude.
You would. You know what's funny? Because I was sitting here thinking, I said, oh my God, he would have the time of his life right now. This is all he does with me is want to talk about movies and this stuff.
Shout him out.
You know what? Brandon Miles would love this.
Yeah,
this would be his.
Brandon, check us out. Listen to
him
us,
and his
we're
beautiful
all about
wife, Tree Smiles. They would love this.
Suggesting you to broaden your movie horizons. There are more out there than even I know about, and I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
Joe, any last words on Hot Fuzz?
Watch that shit.
Yeah. I love the way that Edgar Wright makes movies. I was watching for all his invisible cuts, which were
swipe transfers,
more like wipeaways, because they weren't always leading into the next scene, but they were like they were just more or less designed wipes, but used so efficiently, and it not just moves you along so what I'm describing is if you're ever watching a scene and a car passes by, and as the car passes by, it blacks out the screen, but the car keeps moving and reveals the next scene, or the camera moves behind a curtain, a rack of clothing, and then appears out the other side. Now you're in a garage, and the camera's moving past the trunk of a car, right? Those type of transitions are planned, and they're effective when used right. And if you watch this movie specifically, they are everywhere. And what I liked about it was the movement. So the camera usually dollies left or right through the frame, and it actually gives a physical movement to the scene. So in this particular movie,
camera drama to maybe dull parts of the story.
In this particular movie, he was sitting at the desk at some points and doing some research, especially when it came point where he was making copies of the newspapers and such.
Yeah.
It was sometimes 2-3 second shots, but they were moving along with these invisible wipes that you don't notice them. It just moves you quickly through 15-20 seconds of story.
When done properly, it's seamless.
So that was it was very enjoyable for me to really see that and pay attention to that this time around.
Yeah, because you have to pay attention to it, otherwise it goes unnoticed because it's done so well.
Yeah, so I was looking for it this time, and I very much enjoyed it. But yes, I stand behind the recommendation and will continue recommending this movie to many, many others.
Absolutely.
Before we move on to our first recommendation, there's one more thing I'd like to say.
Yeah,
about
please.
Hot Fuzz. One of my favorite jokes that almost goes unnoticed by almost everybody I've watched it with, even my wife, which this is crazy, is when he says, like, all those pranks are happening to him. Like, yes, sure, all the cops are razzing him, but all the stuff in his locker and to his uniform, Nick Frost's character says, "'Tweren't me." fucking was every time.
Oh yeah.
He did all of that.
Oh
all
my gosh, I did not.
The other
do
cops
that.
had
That's
nothing
hilarious.
to do with that.
That is
It
hilarious.
was just him picking on his partner, saying it wasn't him. And of course, you'd think it could be any of the other guys because
Yeah.
they're all
I thought
razzing him,
so.
but
I
they're
did.
just razzing him.
Yeah.
It's
No,
all-
I always
didn't
assumed it was him. That was a guilty look every
even
time.
twat across the forehead backwards. So when
In
you
the
put
hat.
it on,
That is ridiculous.
tweren't me.
Weren't me.
No, tweren't.
Twernt
me.
Twernt me.
That's like my goal, like my
That extra T makes it
major goal in
miles
life
funnier to me. I
is
don't know
to
why.
do a British movie. I want to be in a British movie so bad.
Yeah.
Like to see all these British actors come over here and nail our movies
Yeah.
with our American accent, by the way.
Yeah.
It's been my dream goal to go over there and do a British movie with the accent and all.
I think
that
you
is a
should.
bucket list
Yeah.
item for me.
For sure you
It
should
really
do that.
is. And I'm working actively to
I
get to
would
that.
I would love to work on it because a UK set is something different than we've ever been on.
Yeah.
You know,
Tea
just
time.
from reading. Yeah,
Really?
I
They do
can't
tea time. and
I
shit.
can't speak expansively on it because I haven't been over there. But the things I've read is crazy. Yes, tea time is one of them. They will take their breaks and their rest.
tea time.
Oh yeah,
love it.
But it's they use different terminologies. They
Yeah.
use, like there's not a second over there. There's a third. Which is a
Mm.
small little thing, but that's just an indication that if things that small
Yeah.
are different, what else is? And so I'm very excited to somehow, some way, get over there and
Yeah,
shoot
no,
as well.
I love the way they work over there. I mean, my job, the title literally comes from them. Like, used to be a lighting designer when it was in movies, but it became gaffer because of British cinema.
I love it. I love that.
So I think now it's time for us to move on to our grand discussion this afternoon.
Yeah.
How do we feel about that, everybody? So we're going to do psychological thrillers. So let's have a quick conversation for ourselves and for the listeners to kind
some.
of tee up the type of movies that we're talking about. I think, to me, psychological thrillers are movies or stories that are... and crime. We're doing psychological crime thrillers. But so a crime at some point will take place. But the psychology for me comes into either the main villain playing mind games with the hunters or with its victims or the cops playing mind games. Like psychological warfare is in some way evoked. Is that kind of how you guys are thinking?
Yeah, the only slight difference approach I took to it was psychological crime thrillers. When it came to crime, I didn't think law enforcement had to be involved. A crime is a crime,
Right. I don't
regardless of acknowledgement.
Yes, I don't think
law
our
enforcement.
films absolutely have to have a beeline story of the cop trying to find him or
Right.
anything. Google has
I almost think you could almost leave crime out of it, just psycho thrillers.
what is a psychological thriller according to the top result on Google? The psychological thriller is a subgenre of thriller that explores the psychology of its characters who are often unstable. What makes a thriller psychological is that the biggest questions revolve around the minds and behavior.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We all kind of in
Same
agreement
page.
on that?
Yeah.
All right.
100.
So we each do 4 recommendations throughout the day here, throughout the episode. That'll bring us to 12 total titles. We are each going to make our first recommendation. Then we're going to take a very brief break, and we will be back with the listeners after that. So, Jezar, are you ready to start us out?
Yes. First off, let's say psychological thrillers are my favorite genre of movies. That is my favorite. Of course, it seemed like it would be comedy, but it's not. I think the best comedians have a dark side because they watch
100% agree.
you know what I'm saying?
100%
Same
agree.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of the better, and we are actually going to get into that later today because at least one on my list. But I find that comedians can be incredibly effective drama actors.
Oh, yeah.
I have to agree with that.
Some of my favorites are some of my favorite dramatic actors.
Because there is a
started
darkness
off
to comedy.
as
It
like
is.
slapsticky comedy.
You know, to me, like
Jim
in-
Carrey.
I was going
Adam
to say Jim
Sandler.
Carrey. I was going to
These
listen.
pe-
Yes,
these two-
Eddie Murphy. Even I
Yes.
saw him play Mr. Church, and I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God,
he's great
you know?
when he takes the chance. He's
Yeah.
a little less risque than
Yeah,
some
he
of
normally
the
does,
people,
but he did. He risked it on Mr. Church. I don't know if you've
No,
ever
he-
seen
is
that.
that the
I
one
have
with
not, but I've heard good things.
Oh, you have to watch it,
I'll have to
Mr.
look it up.
Church.
Is
Yeah,
that the
look that
title
one
of the movie?
That's not the one I'm recommending, but
No, no, no,
Okay,
but that's
yeah,
the title.
okay.
We're here
But yeah,
for
Okay, yeah,
recommendations
Mr. Church.
regardless.
That
So,
was a
yeah.
different side of Eddie. That was
Okay,
not the
I'll
Eddie
put
I'm
all
used
this
to.
in for
And you know, so yeah, definitely.
So while I look up Mr.
Okay, but
Church
yes,
here,
let's
what is
continue.
your first recommendation?
Oddly enough, I don't know if you heard of this one, but it's called The Perfect Host. Perfect Host. Let me give you the year.
That's with the dude from Frasier, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer.
yes,
Kelsey
yes,
Grammer.
yes.
No, I
Nope,
think
his
the other
David
one.
Hyde- nope, his name
David
is
Hyde
David
Pierce.
Hyde
David Hyde Pierce.
Yes.
Well, I love them both.
This came out in 2010.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect Host
I have
was
seen this, yeah.
amazing.
It's very good.
Amazing psychological thriller. Without giving it away.
Yeah, so on this part of the show, just for you and for our listeners, we try to avoid
We're done
spoilers.
with
So
the
we're
spoilers.
past the spoiler part of the
Yeah,
show.
no spoilers. It's just
Especially for a psychological thriller.
definitely.
What's a twist?
Basically, it's just a robber on the run, and he's looking for a place to hide from the cops.
Yes.
And he finds this specific house to go to, and the story unravels from, there.
Right. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
No.
It's definitely dope. It's definitely worth
This
the
is
watch.
a high tension story. There's not much
Yeah.
you can say about that.
It's not.
If you enjoy David Hyde Pierce and you want to see him in a completely different light,
Absolutely.
He's the homeowner, right?
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
that's what I thought. And there's a twist there.
Nice
if
twist.
I'm remembering. Yes.
Nice twist.
I did see this one. I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once or twice.
Yes.
But I do remember it because he features as a lead in so few things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his performance in this was so. I feel like I liked Frasier. I like Frasier.
Kelsey Grammer?
No, the show.
I know. I'm just being a dick.
When the show came out, I was too young for it to be my demographic. So much like Seinfeld, I'm more into it now as someone who's experienced more of life, and I get some of the jokes.
Yeah.
Right.
Not
Some
that
of the
it-
situational awkwardness.
Yeah, so I
humor
get
and-
more out of the show.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the show Frasier more than I enjoyed the show Cheers. What I'm getting to is I loved the brother character that David Hyde
Nigel,
Pierce plays,
yeah.
Nigel. Loved it. But it's so one note because it's a show, and I'd never really seen him in
He is
another
so
role of any
versatile.
kind.
Yeah.
Most of his stuff, if you really want to look him up, voice acting.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but that's why I like Perfect Toast, because that gave me an opportunity for one, to put him back in front of my face again to see him perform, but two, to perform in a type of character that was so different from his character as Frasier's brother.
Okay. So
So-
I'm not a big
Fucking
Frasier
push
fan,
about.
so.
I get it. I mean, it's
Yeah. It's fucking
it is literally a show designed for
format
like
Nigel. Yeah.
yeah, for like white collar, boring ass fucking people. Like it knows what it is,
Okay,
right? Like
yeah.
he's a doctor, he's a pompous psychologist, and that's why as a child I was like, fuck this shit. But now he runs a radio show.
Okay.
And now when I watch it, I'm like, okay, I don't get him.
Yeah.
But everyone else tries to bring him down because he's so pompous and up there that like I relate to having now met people like him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is funny now because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would assume you actually enjoy David Hyde Pierce's character Nigel because
He's the cut down.
yes, and he's the brother and you're a brother. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
It sounds like a side joke.
Joe's always bringing in the familial. But yeah, Perfect Toast is a good one. Thank you, Jezar.
Yeah, no
Joe?
problem.
Okay, so extensive list, but I did number them because I tend to
pare it down,
I
buddy.
tend to ramble. But when I saw this one, I was like, obviously, this is number one for me because it was so incredible to me when I first saw it. It's 2000s, and it's labeled as horror sci-fi, but you can fuck right off. This is a psychological thriller, The Cell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
Jennifer Lopez.
that's very
Vince
psychological.
Vaughn, Vincent D'Onofrio plays this horrific villain. That is, if you've not seen The Cell with Jennifer Lopez, Vincent Vaughn, and Vincent D'Onofrio in 2000, oh my God. So let me break it down. The Cell takes a shocking, riveting mind trip into the dark and dangerous corridors of a serial killer's psyche. A psyche that holds the key to saving a killer's final trapped victim who remains alive. Making this journey into the recesses of a killer's nightmarish fantasy world is Catherine Dean, a psychologist played by Jennifer Lopez, who has been experimenting with a radical new therapy. Through a new transcendental science, J-Lo can experience what is happening in another person's unconscious mind. And now Vince Vaughn is an FBI agent who's on the case and captures him, so he has to oversee these therapy sessions, and he winds up going into the mind with her, I think. Or I don't want to, no spoilers.
Yeah.
It's just like the art department, the production design, the cinematography, it's just so fantastical.
It's a wild movie.
Like I would almost put fantasy into its like rather than sci-fi horror. I would put psycho thriller.
It was one of
fantasy.
the earlier movies that I watched that didn't make normal sense in the way that it wasn't just straight. So like there had been weird movies that had been out before that time era, but in 2000. So in 2000, I was freshman in college, or I think I was a freshman in college when I saw it, but the movie may have come out earlier that year, which would have put me as a senior in high school. So it's still early enough in life where I only had so much time to watch so many movies, and the way that I consume, I didn't have cable, so I didn't run across random good things, and I had a heavy parental observance. So when it came to renting stuff at the store, it was pretty clean line, right?
Yeah.
So I was right at the cusp of exploring and reaching out into the more weird shit, and that was newish, and it was fucking weird. So my first experience with it, like Joe said, I didn't really understand it or put it all together, but it was fascinating, and it's visually just a wild art piece. Like just visually alone, it's I don't know what has been done since that takes on that use of like clean color. Like it's not just color for the sake of color, it's clean color. It's very juxtaposing to the story.
Yes, very.
Have you seen this film?
I haven't, but I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out now.
It's almost glorification of the dark psyche.
Yeah.
Like, in the way it's shot, but not in the story. Like
And the filmmaker was
in
Tarsem
itself
Singh.
feels like it's fighting its own purpose.
Yeah.
It's really beautifully done.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm gonna look it up right now and just watch, but I don't know how like readily available it is. I don't think it's come across my plate as something where I could be just like, oh hey, yeah, I forgot about that.
I have it on DVD. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, even now, presently, it's for rent, but on Amazon and Apple. So like
it was done on film. It came out before this is pre-digital age.
Sure, but I guess like
pre-streaming, they need to get
this
their
to
revenue,
me is indicative of it being like it's got an 85%. So people who saw it liked it, but I think it doesn't get the viewership that dictates the cost to put it into
because
distribution.
Rotten Tomatoes said it's 6.4 out of 10, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
This is a fucking 8.9 at the lower side. Like
Yeah.
I would give it a 9.8 personally as a cinematographer.
The Just Watch showing is IMDb. I see that 6.4. Just Watch is 85%, and that's all subjective, anyways.
Of course.
All right, so on to my recommendation. I am going to recommend the 1998 thriller about a serial killer starring Denzel Washington and John Goodman and Donald Sutherland, a movie called Fallen.
Yes, sir.
I love this
Yes,
movie
sir.
so
Yes,
much,
sir.
dude.
This movie, there is nothing like this movie. We're about to take our break here in a moment. Okay. So I'm going to set this up with talking about this as little as possible for those who haven't seen it. It is a crime situational, right? It plays out like your standard police looking for killer plot line.
Right.
But there is a spiritual element that puts Denzel Washington's character through the ringer, where he is spending so much time trying to figure out what this case is that he's on and how he's being tortured. You know what? No, the spoiler. So the movie opens with Denzel Washington saying, by the end of this, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So
you can't not spoil this movie. And
you
explain
know
it.
that,
Ultimately, what's the actor who plays the bad guy? He plays Casey Jones in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, Christ.
He plays the fake villain in another movie I might mention later tonight. So I'm not going to say what I was going to say. But
Gandolfini's in this thing. These are newer pictures. Is it Robert Joy? Is he a weird looking guy?
Yeah, I think
Skinny guy, big smile. Looks like it might be Robert Joy. Everyone's
show me
older in
the
their pictures here now, so I don't know who he was in.
Casey
he looked
Jones.
like in '98.
He's Casey Jones and TJ.
We'll stop it there.
Yeah, just look up that name, and that's the guy.
Keep talking while I'm doing this. Looking
So
for you.
anyways,
Are you serious?
He plays such a brilliant, I'm just going to say, possessed person, right?
Nice.
So this is when Brad said religious element, it has a lot to do with religion because if demons can't be real, if angels aren't real, right? So, anyways, if there's this demonic possession, this entity that possesses people and gets them to become serial killers, right?
Yeah.
But then leaps out of their body as they die. So it's not.
You can't kill him.
Yeah. So the whole plot is them trying to find out who this serial killer is. It's not one person.
Exactly.
And so when they think they got him, they don't have him. And then
the creepiest version
the story
of
and into
the Rolling Stones song ever.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Which song?
I haven't
forget.
seen that
Time.
movie since I was a teenager. So I think it would be. Yes, I do remember the song though.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I remember the song. But I
Yes,
haven't.
it
I would
is.
love
John
to
Goodman
do that.
kills that shit.
Yeah, I would love to see this now as an adult.
Right?
I haven't seen it as an
if
adult.
you were a child
Oh,
when
it
you
holds
saw
up.
it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I gotta go back.
So 98, it was definitely not the first thing I saw Denzel Washington in, but again, it was in that period of time where I was exploring more of the things that I wanted to see and less of the things that were just available to me. And that was a role to me that really turned me on to him as an actor performer because of the range of pain that he shows on his face
my God.
when
Really?
he's
Yes.
going through
Yes.
this as a real cop, questioning what he's having to deal with, the things that he's seeing, it's much like a Dracula story where it's like, who's going to believe me? What, like, so you're fighting reality and you're fighting your own
Sanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I picked Fallen, because I think I personally think it's a movie that is worth seeing that people haven't seen. And the more I talk about it, hopefully the more people will see it and come back and be like, wow, damn, why aren't we making movies like this anymore?
No, straight up
my gosh.
on my honorable mentions list and only not numbered because I figured one of you two would take it.
Yes.
Brad never disappoints.
So you have not seen it, or you
No,
have?
I have
been a
seen
while.
it.
It's
I
been a while.
definitely
That's
seen
what
it,
you
but
said.
I seen it when I was a teacher. I had to be in high school. So,
Okay.
and obviously, we
Yeah,
light years
like
away
back
from
when
that. So,
it-
I need to go back
around
and
the
watch
time
it.
it came
Yeah.
Maybe it was a blockbuster.
I would
pick,
I would love to see it as at this point as a writer and now an actor as well as a filmmaker
Yeah.
and see it.
That's what I love about revisiting
Mm.
films and making lists like this and
Yeah.
going back and forcing myself to watch them, because if I get to the point where I'm like, oh, I've seen that already.
Yeah.
Cool, but now watch it through different eyes this
Absolutely.
time. Because if there are, since we've started this podcast, watching movies that I had seen before, but watching them again now, having now been in the industry,
Yes,
having worked
it's
multiple
not
departments.
for entertainment, not
Yeah.
for just the joy of the movie.
Because do we ever even watch movies for
As a
entertainment now?
I mean, can you turn that off? I can't. I can't. Tell.
I have a hard
I was
time.
legit sitting at Beetlejuice, looking at things like, oh, okay, yeah,
Same.
look at that.
Same.
Yeah,
Look at that.
it gets deep for me. I'm talking about we talk about
I
costumes
love
and everything.
That, I love that on Beetlejuice he used a lot of the
I
practical
definitely.
Well, we
effects.
were talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
We talked about that earlier.
that today.
Tim Burton brought it home on that.
He
Yeah.
did a
The
great
story
job.
could have
By show of
less
hands,
arcs, but-
how many knew that was Danny DeVito before he turned around?
fuck
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Come on
right?
now, yeah,
I was like,
'cause
please
I'm
let me-
first
please
off,
let me
I'm
do
like,
this.
everybody's hands up.
Well, y'all listen. I
Just
need
want
y'all to
y'all
do
know
one episode
everyone's
where
hand
we
is
come
up.
back and just do Danny DeVito movies.
Oh, I'm all
and
about-
I need to.
I'm
I need
telling
to be
Joe,
here for
If
that.
you're
I'm
okay?
telling Joe we need to
request,
do actor
okay,
ones.
That's our first round.
Yes,
table.
because I
Yeah.
need that. Listen.
Hey.
Very knowledgeable.
By
needed
the
that.
time we get 3 more mics in our new office,
Yeah, I got Danny DeVito down pat.
we do have a new office we'll be moving to shortly.
So those are our first 3 recommendations for the day. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to tie off this list here with our final 9 recommendations. So stick with us, and we'll be right back.
Daddy, you see your Welcome back, y'all.
Cheated. I didn't have a can, so I twist topped. I don't know if you heard it or not, but
I
pretend
heard that
pretend
shit.
that you did.
Do I have-
Faker.
Oh,
You're
wait,
a
wait.
mother
You got a
faker.
hiss.
Listen. Oh, you missed the first hiss.
You had a hiss. Though. You had a hiss though.
There's no hiss. It's apple
was.
juice.
It was a hiss.
No. I heard the hiss.
How do you get hiss
Listen,
off
I'm not-
something without carbonation?
No, there's
know.
gases in there. It's apple
Science,
juice.
bitches.
There's gases in there, bro. All right, so we are all braked and ready to go. And we are back to Jezar for her next recommendation.
Oh, it's
Bring
getting so
it.
tight. Okay, I was like, I got 3 more, but I got to choose out of one. Okay,
I know it gets difficult.
Yeah, it
Every time you
does.
lay one down and get closer to that last one, it becomes more challenging.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with the 2010 movie, The Circle.
Okay.
Nice choice.
Nice choice.
Yeah.
I love The Circle. 50 people in a circle, and they are all standing there. They're waking, standing up, facing each other, and they must choose one person to execute. And they do this based on conversation. So it's a big communication. It's basically dialogue, but the dialogue is so powerful, so amazing. It's a great film.
You said it was 2010?
Was it 2010? Let me
I don't
double
know.
check. Let me pull up my Palm Pilot. And
Your
check it.
Palm Pilot.
I'm sorry, it was 2015. My
You sure it's
apologies.
not a BlackBerry? Doesn't have a click
Yeah.
you can roll around?
So it's listed. It's listed as a thrilling, psychological, and suspenseful. But yes, this is a great film especially for it to not be based around any real movement or action. It's literally just dialogue. But this dialogue and the intensity of these actors is so powerful that it's definitely worth the watch. I normally don't go for a lot of talking head films, but
Is this with Emma Watson and Tom Hanks?
no.
John Boyega?
No. This
What
one's-
am I not finding?
Brad, where?
Bro, I'm on the internet.
What, you
So-
should be using Google, not Ask Jeeves.
Yep, it's just called The Circle. It's 2015, so put Circle 2015.
The Circle with Tom Hanks and Emma Watson.
Yeah, take the "the" out of there though. It's just Circle.
Oh, just Circle. Okay. There it is.
There we go.
that's the problem.
Yeah, we put The Circle. That was my bad.
No, it happens. As Midwesterners, we often put the
Yeah.
and
well, I would have had to
pluralize.
say it though. I would have to say
Yeah.
it's the movie The Circle. Well,
It's the movie Circle.
You're right.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah.
That was my
Midwestern
bad.
slip. Yeah. Well, at least you didn't pluralize it. It's
true.
circles.
I'd have
Like Myers,
ended up watching,
Kroger's.
Targets.
None of them have an S, people.
None of them.
Not a one.
Back when we accepted checks and I'd have to hand checks back, be like, I'm sorry, I cannot take this.
Because
Why? Because you wrote an
studios-
S. Yeah, I'm sorry, the bank won't cash it. It says Targets.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, you did work at Target, yeah.
that's hilarious.
So this movie is actually streaming on Netflix right now.
a great film.
Circle. Yeah, look at this. It's dark. It's brooding. It's crazy.
I have to
good,
watch this,
dude.
Brad. This is a great one. This
What's,
one is good.
well, what's the synapse? Give it to me.
It says
I've
pretty
seen it, but-
pretty close to what she said. Held captive and faced with their imminent executions, 50 strangers are forced to choose the one person among them who deserves to live. Mm-hmm. That is just fascinating to me.
One
I
person
love
have to live out of, you know what I'm saying? And so it's basically they're choosing who to execute each conversation piece
Yeah.
until you get down to the last person.
and it just slowly starts to eliminate people.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And again, we're talking about one location.
Yeah, plot-wise, it would be close to Squid Games without all the games in it.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, because people have to die, one survivor kind of.
Right.
That's amazing.
That's just plot-wise. Movie-wise, it's totally different.
Yeah, movie-wise, it's
Story-wise,
totally
yeah, motivation-wise, totally different.
And I feel like the
Interesting.
writer had to be very brilliant to keep your attention on a film where
So
It was
basically-
really well done.
So there's
Who
two
directed this?
two directors, two writers. Both,
Oh, nice.
Both the same people. So it's written and directed in a partnership with Aaron Hahn and Mario Mischione.
Okay.
And I'm going to look right now and see if they've done anything else for us to look into. It does not look like they have. There was a TV series called The Vault, which I'm not familiar
Oh,
with.
that was good. I enjoyed that.
But they were, Aaron was a part of that. Let me see. I'm assuming. I say they, but I click on this one.
I think it was just one of them.
And okay, so the other guy, this Mario Mischione,
Yeah.
he has produced other
Mischione.
things, and has
pronounce the
directed some small shorts. So, and he was a director on The Vault. So yeah, I mean in 2015, if you really think about 2015, while it's almost 10 years, knowing what we know in this business, they could be working in the industry doing lower credited things, but
Or even grander
trying
things at a
to-
different, like not as.
yeah, they
maybe
could be
not
working on
directing
getting
or
something.
cinematographer. He could be cam op on some huge
Right.
show instead of.
But it's on the list now. I would be fascinated to see something like that. I like script based films. Like I love something with a lot of different action, a lot of different activity.
dialogue based.
But dialogue based
plotline.
plot lines can be so fascinating
Yeah, when done
really
right, for
can
sure.
be.
with the right actors and like it's just it's impressive if an actor or a room of actors can engage you the way that an action set piece can engage you.
That's
you
true.
know.
No, and that's good. And I will say this: I highly recommend Circle, but I will also have to equally recommend The Circle and Suicide Circle, which is a Japanese movie. I think I've talked about it on this podcast
Possibly.
before. Regardless, all recommendable. But don't confuse them. They are
Different.
completely different movies. Highly contrastable in enjoyment. Yeah.
Understood. Okay, well then we're moving on. Joe, what is your next recommendation?
My next recommendation is, in my eyes, a classic. Another 2000s. It's a 2004 Christian Bale, The Machinist.
Hell yeah, The Machinist.
I mean, how do you not do The Machinist?
It's on my list, so I intended.
So factory worker Trevor Resnick, Christian Bale, suffers from insomnia so severe that his condition has taken its toll on his weight and his mental health. When Trevor unintentionally causes an on-the-job accident that horribly injures a coworker, Michael Ironside, brilliant actor as well, he begins to become even more troubled. Despite a relationship with Stevie, Jennifer Jason Leigh, it's just action-packed. It's just star-studded. This anyway. She's a pretty prostitute, and they're having some. I don't know where my head went because I broke the sentence being stupid. Regardless, Trevor descends further into paranoia, blaming his problems on an enigmatic figure named Ivan, played by John Sherian.
So this is one of those movies where you don't really know what's going on.
Directed by Brad Anderson.
Yeah, so it's
Very cerebral.
you watch it thinking you're watching one thing, and as things go on, other things are revealed to you. But what's fascinating immediately about this is the timeline.
And that's why I followed the
When
cell
you-
with this, because they're very equally cerebral.
Yes.
They kind of fuck with your mind.
When you see Christian Bale in the opening sequence, and he is wafer thin,
Yeah.
and then you learn that immediately after rap on this, he went into a strong diet of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and oatmeal to become Bruce fucking Wayne.
That's nice.
Because he actually lost this weight.
This weight
We're
that
not-
you,
really lost
he
weight.
is,
We're
he
not
is
talking
frail.
about like Matt Damon
He
in The
looks
Martian.
like a skeleton. He is so frail.
Yeah, I see. It's
And
terrible.
yes, he took that physical commitment to
One
it,
apple a
but
day.
His
he ate.
performance and his acting is so it's a masterclass. You know, if you're not even into thrillers or dark texted movies, but you love an actor's performance, Christian Bale gives one of the best acting
Hypnotic,
performances I've ever seen on film.
Enthralling.
And then Jennifer Jason Leigh, who most people know from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. She was the young love interest in that, and she's done quite a bit of other things, but that's like always her callback to fame. She, I think, is underappreciated as an
Very much
actress,
so. I love
and it
her.
wasn't until this movie that I realized that I was underappreciating her, because I was
Okay,
like,
that's
holy
fair.
shit.
Yeah.
Because she puts on a performance that, because his character is going through something. I'm trying to talk around because I don't want to spoil some of the things that the movie does reveal along the way. But she is, as Joe mentioned, a prostitute. And this is prostitute pre, OnlyFans and internet and separation. You know, she was the old school, got to go out
Walking the
and
streets
get
of
it.
the 90s.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to think, if that's how you make your money, there's something that the rest of us wouldn't understand. And it's an interpersonal relationship type of job, right? Because in order to get paid, you have to have what is essentially an interpersonal, very close
And
relationship
Christian
with
Bale's
somebody.
character, Trevor, is a regular John.
But
They don't
she
have a real
starts
relationship.
to
He pays her.
right. But then that line starts to get muddied
with
because
his
she has this
disillusion.
so
But she's also
there's
committed
just
to him.
this
She cares for him because
That's
even
where I
though,
was going,
Even
because she
though it's
can't help it.
transactional,
She can't
it's
help it.
been going
Well,
on for so long. Yeah,
you don't
how
want to
could
lose
you
a
not?
customer, but at the same time,
it
that's
does get
that's
deeper than
that
that.
muddy line I was saying.
then it
you know,
crosses, yeah.
So she is her as an actress is able to really emote in a way that allows me to empathize with her clocking in. I'm doing air quotes for the radio. Clocking in and clocking off with this character because there's moments where for her protection, and you see this a lot in sex workers on TV and in film when they're like trying to establish a separation between like if all of a sudden another part of the plot, they can wrap into characters, blah blah blah.
Right, yeah.
They have to sometimes say, "Hey, this is a transactional relationship," or however it's said in the script. She physically and performance wise tosses back and forth between these two roles.
Toes that line magically,
and it makes her a very captivating character. So I'm with Joe on this. This was definitely going to be one I brought up if he didn't.
Oh, good. Okay, I like it.
I have not seen it.
Joe, you give all the ones I haven't seen, so I definitely got to check.
It's probably a harder one to find. I'm going to just watch it here in just a moment because it was. Again, this is back in the Blockbuster days. I don't think it was a widely released one. I think it was something that we all discovered mostly on video at the time, and it kind of fell away. Even Brad Anderson, the guy who directed it, a lot of his movies are such a way, that you haven't really seen it a lot since then.
But like, if you can there's photos, just Google it, the movie, and you can see the juxtaposition of his physique.
Oh yeah,
before and after, like before and during.
Yeah, I've seen. It's terrible.
So right now that film is available on if you're a Paramount Plus subscriber or rentable. So it's not unattainable. Although it doesn't show Amazon, so it might only be watched. Oh no, Pluto. Hey, us free with ads.
It says
dope
right
for
here,
me.
He got his ass down. He lost 62 pounds and he weighed 120 pounds.
Yeah, and I think as Batman, he was like 250. So
wow,
in the
that's so
ballpark
dangerous,
his doctors were like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, that's so dangerous.
That can kill.
It really can.
It's dramatic. It's dramatic, but it
does irreversible things. I think that's when he started getting that little growth next to his eye too. Like I'm being real here.
No, that is body. It's a fact. Okay, so moving on. That was The Machinist at our fifth recommendation. That brings us to me. I'm going to dip into this well here, and I want to make sure that these are movies that we've seen for the most part. I don't want to get too funky, but I don't want to take the obvious ones away from anybody. So I'm going to go with...
You're pulling a joke, Brad.
I like this. I like this one. This one's going to be... Jim Carrey, one of the...
Ooh, yes, please, because I didn't put this on my list because I
you
thought
didn't.
For sure you would.
Okay, well, here it is. I'm glad
Honorable mention, obviously.
Yeah, I'm glad then that this... because so now I've decided on what my next pick will be, too. This is the number 23 with Jim Carrey. So we were talking about comedy actors who do really good serious roles. And Jim Carrey has done multiple serious roles in the past. I think at this point in his career, it's almost insulting that we still call him a comedic actor.
At this point, yeah. He doesn't even do comedy anymore.
Not really. But the number 23 is about a man who obsesses about numbers.
And what year did this come out?
2007.
That's right, yeah.
I think he through a novel or something something puts into his mind this obsession. So he begins to obsess over this.
He starts reading a book that he finds.
Yes, over this content, and then it plays with the idea, and this is real. So if I ever said, "Oh man, you know what I never see? I never see any fucking yellow cars," and then all of a sudden driving home, I'll probably see 6 of them bastards.
Yeah,
because now it's on the forefront of my mind.
Inference is what you're talking about.
Thank you. So Joel Schumacher directed this movie. He's famous for fucking up the Batman series after Tim Burton. But
fucking
this
nipples
movie,
on the bat suit.
But this movie is so biting. It is frightening in a realistic way because it's the type of maniac or crazy person that literally could be living in your neighborhood and you don't realize because he's just a normal Joe suffering. He's mentally suffering now from this obsession that he has. But this obsession takes him into a whole different world. So now he starts to jump into the book and set himself in the book and the things that are happening. Yes, and as the things in the book are happening, he brings that with him out of life. So he no longer can connect to his present mental state. Am I the character or am I me? And from there, it just unravels.
And it's done so well. And without... The best way I can say this without spoilers is if you enjoy Jim Carrey in The Truman Show and you wondered what it'd be like if he just lost his fucking mind, this is the movie for you. Because he plays the serious dramatic role, but he does it with that comedic tenacity, but with no comedy, right? It's all drama. It's all heart and hurt and pain and everything in his life that he's let go into this. And as Brad said, he's reading this book and it becomes his life. And if you watch the movie, you will see why and just how deep that rabbit hole goes.
As an actor, in his personal life, he's experienced so much that a lot of people don't know about.
Right.
Yes. So
I really believe
when he jumped into that serious acting, I think he really has to.
This movie specifically, if you know the story, like because he's one of my favorites. Like I follow him personally in a weird way that I don't do with any celebrity. It's not as weird as most people, but for me, it's okay. I don't want to.
And let me tell you, we got a movie for you.
Anyways, this movie was really like the first scream for help before his path towards kind of redemption. He was healing that path that he's on now, where people started saying he's crazy when really he's more sane than he's ever sounded.
Yeah,
to somebody
absolutely.
who appreciates
This performance of his, he goes from, he's not nerdy in this, but he's
your everyman.
He's a
Carl.
dopey, sloppy everyman. But there are some scenes in here where he is so fucking sexy and you won't understand why.
Seriously,
hilarious.
I'm telling you.
He taps on every button of your senses.
Yes. It's,
I love that.
You're like, wait a minute, what? Is that Jim? That's Jim fucking Carrey? Really?
Jim Carrey always had a lot of range, though, because even if you watch his comedic movies, there's times in those movies when he's actually really serious.
I
You know what
agree.
I'm
You
saying?
can't
So-
be funny
I
without
agree.
having
Yeah,
range.
so
Yeah.
he definitely, he's always been.
Not that kind of funny. Like
Yeah.
funny across the board.
Right.
That's some fucking range.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. So I'm not, again, y'all getting me with these ones. Okay.
That's okay. So we're
haven't seen that
add
one.
to your list, because here's the thing, you can't see them all, but now we can get you a little bit closer.
Yeah.
That's why we're here, baby. I love it.
all right.
So that's the number 23 from 2007.
Awesome.
Jezar, you got two more.
Okay, great. So
What's number 3?
I'm sticking to the trend here, one location films.
Okay.
So I'm going to say The Guilty, which
Guilty.
was done in 2021 with Jake how you say his name?
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
This is a very great film. Again, one location. He's working in the 911 center. And you could tell he's been demoted, actually. So he went from doing the beat on the streets to now being a 911.
I remember seeing the trailer for this one, so
movie
tell me about
is
this.
absolutely phenomenal. So he's taking, of course, you could tell the disdain in his voice. Like, okay, I went from being on the beat on the street, now I got to take these 911 calls. So it opens up with him being very frustrated with a situation like that. But he ends up getting on a call with a woman who's obviously in distress. She's been kidnapped. So we believe something to that extent. And he's trying to walk her through this kidnapping, how to get free and everything. And his co-workers aren't really jumping in and helping. He's trying to connect with the police officers that's out on the street to help with this situation. And this story starts unraveling in a way you won't believe. Like, the turns it take is absolutely amazing.
It's really good. And it really follows with this trend that Jake Gyllenhaal has been on for a while now. There's been several movies he's done that have had that dark. And I'm not going to bring them up because they're probably on somebody's list. They're definitely in my honorable mentions. But,
Right.
He has taken a turn to the dark side of wanting to show his true emotional depth, and I think he does it very well in several of his last movies, this one included.
Yeah. It's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, it slipped my list. It's available to watch on Netflix
It ain't the
right
remake
now.
of Roadhouse, I'll tell you that.
And so I guess the thing, the
Shade.
reason
Got dark in here.
I've been focusing on the one location is because as a writer, it takes a certain amount of execution to get someone to sit and watch a film that's in one location.
And restraint as a
And-
writer
yes.
to not
Yes.
leave the space. Because
Exactly.
it's so easy to just, in a flashback. Or,
Exactly. Right. A flashback is your easy way to say, okay, we're at the location. I'm like, no, now you're out the one location.
Yeah.
But to do that,
Cut the vignettes.
yeah, I've been very impressed with that skill set. So I've been focusing on a lot of psychological thrillers that are
Brad and I did that
Yeah.
2 years ago when we wrote ours that we're developing.
really
Yeah, it's
nice.
it's a single location. We do have vignettes. We do have some cutaways, but it's because it's an ensemble piece, and so you need to know some of the
slightly
characters.
larger cast. So
Okay.
we do need the vignettes for backstory just for that. But I mean, I would be interested in your feedback. Remind me to get you
absolutely.
a copy of it after this.
Absolutely.
So I have not seen The Guilty.
Oh, good. I
and,
finally got you one.
Yeah, I well, I haven't seen Circle either. You got it.
I got you too.
Brad's
Okay,
the
great.
easy one. I'm the one you got to stump. I watch everything.
I see. I think I'm gonna stump you with my honorable.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
hope
stump
so.
you with that. One.
I enjoy
so-
being stumped.
So I don't.
last a week. I'm gonna watch that. shit.
Yeah, I don't have any. So this one, yeah. So I don't have anything to add about The Guilty, but
Okay.
except I love Jake Gyllenhaal, and I do remember seeing this trailer and thinking, oh, this could be really, really good, or it could fucking suck because of the
No, it's
single
good.
location
Yeah,
thing.
you
So.
gotta-
Yeah,
you
that's-
gotta
there
look
was
at
there
that.
was
Fine, dude. It's a
there was
tightrope walk with
yeah,
that shit.
especially around that time. So 2021, yeah, we had already watched. So there's a movie that was recommended to us when we were researching single location pieces with Tom Hardy, who I love.
Okay.
And it's a movie called Lock, where it's just him in the car and he's on the phone most of the time. And let me tell you,
LOCKE.
I do not recommend that movie
Okay.
to you. So
It's his character's last name, and he's kind of locked in the car for the whole movie.
and
Yeah.
I mean, I would recommend it. It's good emotionally.
it was a
the
good way to learn
dialogue,
about writing and so forth, but it was not
boring.
interesting. It
Oh,
was
It
not
was shot
interesting.
boring. Like
Yeah.
they did their best to be dynamic, but he's in the car.
Oh,
3 hours.
yeah.
So
okay.
Did it have to be 3 hours?
you remember how we shot the process trailer for Fatal Dispatch?
Yes.
So that's kind of what they did for this. And you know how you can't be there to talk about it. So basically they locked him in a car because it's just him, and they got the other actor on the phone and recorded that at the same time.
and a
Because you
radio.
never see the other side of the conversation. And then they would just drive for 2 hours, rolling, cutting, rolling, cutting, rolling, cutting. Yeah. So like feedback was
The
limited.
director was only there between takes to
And
do
through the walkie,
radio walk.
so
Yeah.
like the interpersonal relationship that you'd have with your actors was
You're
just
not having it.
gone.
Yeah, because he's in the car. You're come over the walkie just like the AD. Like, I'm thinking maybe you should
Yeah.
do this.
And
And in his head, if you can't see your eyes, you'd be like, well, fuck that.
Yeah, and remember, once that camera is locked on there,
That's it,
that
yeah.
talent is pretty much stuck there until you disrig the
He didn't
camera.
move for 4 days.
Oh, that's not. Yeah, I'm not interested.
So, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
All right, moving on. Joe,
Not interested in that one.
I fucking love Tom Hardy, by the way.
oh yeah, me too. He was boned. Joe, this one's on you.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a tough go here, but you know, do I stick with 2000 or go to 2004 again? I'm gonna go back to
Are those the
2000
only two? Those are the only 2 years to choose from. Apparently,
with my list.
that's what you're looking at.
that's,
Hey, that wasn't a decision.
that's what I went with.
Yeah.
sir. That's what I went with.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, so
Good years.
I'm gonna go with the one that's a little more production heavy. I'm gonna go with Requiem for a Dream 2000.
Oh wow, I'm
is
glad you
that?
went with that. Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream. Jennifer Connelly, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jared Leto, and all at the start of their careers, really.
Oh, the exception of
Jennifer Connelly was a little more established.
very much more established.
I mean, they were all established enough because it was
Sure.
a big movie of the time.
It was big post. That's a cult for sure.
In a nutshell, it's tragic, poignant, and dark. Imaginatively evoking the inner landscape of human beings longing to connect, to love, and feel love. The film is a parable of happiness, gloriously found and tragically lost. Requiem for a Dream tells parallel stories that are linked by the relationship between the lonely, widowed Sarah Godfarb and her sweet but aimless son Harry. The plump Sarah, galvanized by the prospect of appearing on a TV game show, has started a dangerous diet regimen to beautify herself for a national audience. And that just paints the picture of it opening. And
Yeah. So really,
you just go down this rabbit hole.
it's a movie about obsession and addiction. And what I love about it is the fact that they take a friend group with Marlon Wayans, Jared Leto, and Jennifer Connelly are just fucked up, druggy individuals who live their life each day for the next hit. And
whether it be heroin, any opium.
exactly, and so right away as a viewer, you're like, oh, those guys are pieces of shit because they're addicted to drugs, and why don't they get this? So the fact that his mother, played by Ellen Bernstein, so fucking fabulously, she obsessively watches this game show. She gets a letter that says she's invited, so she wants to look her prettiest, and so she goes to the doctor to find out about a diet and so forth, and she gets basically hooked on back in 2000, I don't remember the name of them all, but there were multiple diet
thins.
pills.
They were all
Multiple diet
just
pills
laced
that
with amphetamine.
even in I knew
Yellow
teachers that were doing
Jackets,
it with the
Mini Thins.
teachers.
They were over the counter. They were
It was
$1.50.
yes, it was a whole thing. And so watching the juxtaposition of their storyline, and they each have their own independent storyline, so they're not one group of stories. Like you have time with her, time with both the boys. Marlon Wayans has a girlfriend. Jennifer and Jared are together, kind of, but
And
then
when they're separate, she has her own story.
right.
Like,
So there's so much there to invest in, but it's humbling because it takes you away from just looking at them as drug addicts. You do see them as humans, but it does that by you looking at a human in his mother who you would ordinarily think this is just a normal
and it's
stay-at-home bitch.
It's a bit ahead of its time by recognizing addiction as not just a disease, but the want for human connection.
Yeah.
That's where it stems from. So psychologically, it really plays with your emotions there because you almost want to be like, oh, they're trash. They're human
Yes.
scum. They're addicts. But you see their want and their need to just be loved because you see the relationship with their parents. And it's beautifully done.
Yeah, this is one of Darren
Horrific.
Aronofsky's early films.
The
and
imaging is horrific, though.
It's
like if you don't go in wanting to see some
it's
fucked
not
up
a
shit,
fun
it
movie.
could scar you.
It is not a fun movie. It's NC-17. It is graphic in the sense that drugs destroy your life.
Don't come straight out of Bible school
Right.
and watch this movie.
Like, is there sex and nudity? Yes. Is there fun sex and nudity? No.
I got it.
Is there blood? Yes. Is there fun blood? No. Like it is
This is
a
not
movie.
playful gore.
It is
This
a
is
movie about
realism.
consequence,
Oh,
and
okay.
It's dirty.
It
dark.
It makes you feel dirty. It's
But
one of those
poignant.
movies that
Poignant.
Yes, it's. I'm not trying to scare you away from it. I'm
it
trying to
makes a
prepare
point.
you for it.
It makes a point, and it makes
is
it well.
educational in a very, very eloquent way.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
beautifully done. It is a little grotesque, but not in a gory way. It's
Just,
realism. It's in your face,
on them
but it's
strings.
done so artfully.
Okay.
Honestly, it's one of those movies that I wished we could just show it to our substance abusing friends
Yeah.
and just be like, see, see,
Yeah.
see.
Get the Dare program. Let's watch
I
this.
want them to be
You're
like,
on,
I want them to be like,
step 2 up the ladder.
yeah,
I want you on step 2 down the like. There's
I wanna
12
hand-
steps up, 12 steps down.
I want to hand the DVD or the link over to somebody and have them hand it back to me and be like, you were right, I'm done.
Well, they don't tell you. They don't tell you. There's all these 12-step programs, but addiction's a 24-step program.
But again,
12 steps to the bottom and then 12 steps back out.
Yeah. The Ellen Burstyn character is there to remind us that it is not always just the hard drugs that take us a hold of us, you know, that it can be like right now that Ozempic is probably the closest
Yeah,
thing to
yeah.
in its obsession, right?
Yeah.
Sure, the doctors are saying it's okay, but it is because it's a fad of the day. We're going to find out something later, but regardless if it's healthy or unhealthy, and I'm not judging anybody who does it, but it's a fad that's taking over, that the new resolution is I'm just going to take this.
Really,
But
who's regulating the FCC?
But what's the alternative effects? And
regulating the
this
FDA?
particular character, like Joe said, she's on something that is essentially speed in a woman who all her life would have told her son stay away from drugs. Drugs are no good, but the doctor gave her this one, so this one's okay.
Yeah. Like, oh, I can't have more than 2 cups of coffee. She was this pristine.
But it's cocaine.
Church-going
It's essentially
woman.
cocaine.
No, it's meth, dude.
Yeah.
It's not even cocaine. This is dirty fucking meth. This is bathtub pharmacy meth.
goodness.
Yeah. So, great
Because it
recommendation,
came from a
Joe.
pharmacy. Ooh. Question you doctors, people.
Kind of staying in a similar vein, because that era, as Joe has mentioned, has had a lot, but it's also had a lot of really good filmmakers.
And it was a transformative era in film. This is right
Yeah.
before digital. This is when the end of Miramax, when all the really like gung-ho indie filmmakers were getting their last hurrah of $1 million to $3 million films made. You know?
Yeah.
There were 2 directors in that era that were just budding and really starting to come out. So we hadn't seen their best yet, but what they were giving us was phenomenal. And I stuck to them. I was like, I'm going to watch these guys for the rest of their careers. And the other one being Darren Aronofsky, who brought us Requiem for a Dream. In 2002, Christopher Nolan brought us Insomnia. And it was the opportunity for us to see Al Pacino
Yes.
and Robin Williams in a role together with
Taking another round
with Hilary Swank, I believe. Yep, Hilary Swank.
Yes.
Martin Donovan, who.
The Swankest.
So Al Pacino is a cop from the Los Angeles area, and he has been
specializes
brought out
in serial killers.
and he's been brought out to the middle of nowhere, Alaska.
Juneau, Alaska.
To investigate what is starting to appear to be a serial killer thread. And Robin Williams plays
An author.
author. That's what I thought he was. He's an author who also writes about these types of things. And the two of them meet. What's really cool about this movie is it takes place during a period of time where Alaska is in 24-hour daylight. So him being somebody who is not from an area like
For
that.
our listeners, this is 1 month a year this happens.
Yes.
Every year in Alaska.
And so the character of Al Pacino's that he's playing is out of his element. So here we go, talking earlier, we got the out of your element trope.
Yeah.
Come into the small town. So his sleep is obviously fucking wild now to try and sleep when it appears to be
He's already
day,
got jet lag.
and he starts to get and so he starts to question his investigative skills and his
His own sanity, really.
yes, and his opponent, we'll say his opponent, the person that he's going after, is starting to best him and take advantage of him, just increasingly becoming less
his
rested
nemesis
and more
is
tight.
in his
Nemesis
element,
was the
and,
word.
yeah.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for. That's where I stopped.
Robin Williams is here. He this is what he does, and I'm pretty sure. No, that's a spoiler. I don't really care.
I was trying not to.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
No, I'm not going to spoil it. But he's an author.
gotta care about spoilers.
He's an author who the 30 days of daylight is important to the story.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the investigator's there, that's when the crimes happen. Because that's when the insomnia strikes, and that's when he gets delusional, and that's when he acts out the killer, right? So Al Pacino and Robin Williams, he's interviewing him because he's like, oh, you know about this, or at least you write about it, and almost like it's true crime. But it ends up being a little more true crime than you think, and I'll end it there because I don't think I spoiled it with that.
He's an
That's borderline,
to
but
speak on the
The more you keep talking, you're
that's
gonna
why I
spoil some
stopped,
shit.
bitch.
But then you kept going.
I feel like Robin Williams is another one of those actors who took on drama very well.
And as we learned, he suffered from a lot of pain.
There was a reason he was
absolutely.
so funny and why he was so good at the hurtful emotions.
I'm trying to tell
And he
you,
was
I don't know.
specifically the one that I thought of when we inferred about it earlier because I knew I was going to bring up insomnia, and I totally forgot that I also had Jim Carrey on my list. So it's just a
The more
second
they make
solidification.
you laugh, the more you should be concerned
man.
about how is their life.
Absolutely. I always, as a comedian myself, and having
Money
to step
don't
back
buy
and look,
happiness,
It
and that
does
proves it
not.
right
It
there,
does
man.
not. It's an amazing gift. I think most of it comes from when you're trying to find that peace within yourself, making others laugh does bring that peace. You know what I'm saying? But I think Jim Carrey and Robin Williams are two great examples of two people who are well rounded in.
And while their funny stuff is stuff worth
Very well
recommending,
said,
yeah.
I endlessly like to recommend more of Robin Williams' serious roles than his comedic roles.
Because the funny's going to be there.
Right,
'Cause
and I
he's
feel like
there.
we already know
Yeah.
that. But even something like Good Morning
But
Vietnam,
when he
which
can
was
make me fucking
a comedy,
cry while laughing
Yes.
from the emotion, and then take me from crying to laughing in the same breath.
So I'm going to give you 3 examples right away from you just saying that, and immediately I was like, Jack,
yes,
Patch Adams,
yes,
and Good Morning Vietnam.
fuck yes, dude.
You wouldn't add
All
Doubtfire on
three of
there?
them.
As a sad cry.
When he lost his kids?
Yes, dude.
Yeah, that was very emotional.
All right, I mean, it is. When I saw it as a kid, I was like, obviously, this guy's a fuck up.
Oh,
but
sir,
Yeah.
I saw it. It was
was a run by fruiting.
Surely some weight stuff. You're not, you telling me you didn't cry laughing at that shit, right? She's crying laughing right now.
That's a good one.
I thought you were talking about
When
cry
the
and
teeth
laughing as
fell
two
out.
separate.
Well, yeah,
No, I was.
with you. Yeah,
I
with you, though.
was.
Yeah, like
But
when he was
it's-
losing his
He's
family and
losing
stuff, and
his
his
family
wife
to
and
this
everything.
dude.
It was.
And
It was.
He beams it with a
But
fucking
that's like-
lemon.
Yeah. It was a smaller element because all of a sudden they took the serious and went right into funny. That's why I don't.
I see what you're saying. The sad and Miss Doubtfire was not as prominent.
Yes. Not that I don't recommend Mrs. Doubtfire.
No,
I am,
of course not.
I am upset.
I am saying I will put that in your.
Not just drama though.
That's
even
a
creepy,
4 to your 3, sir.
Oh yeah. I mean, what is it? 1 hour,
1 hour photos? Creepy.
1 hour photo was fucking
so creepy.
Side of photo guy. Oh my god.
He was just really well rounded.
And how his world was shattered.
Even creepier is The World's Greatest Dad. The World's Greatest Dad.
Oh my god!
So I'm gonna brief it because not this topic, but I'm gonna brief it.
Talk about the Best Buy at 7-Eleven $2 bin.
Yes. The greatest dad in the world is about a dad whose son commits suicide, writes a letter. Now, I don't remember all the details, but somehow, I think his son was just kind of a shitty piece of shit or whatever.
Yeah, his son was a piece of shit, but the mom dies.
The whole thing, and it becomes a hero, reframing his son's suicide note, and just basically lives a lie.
He was an English teacher, and he was severely disappointed in his son's suicide note that painted him as a villain, so he rewrote it. And it becomes his
opus.
Crazy. Yeah, it becomes his opus.
He gets on TV, like he's now national news.
And like it gets
none of it's real.
He starts like writing other stuff and finding it.
Yeah. Oh,
and make his son becomes the famous writer that he always wanted to be.
It's a weird movie because
it's so fucked.
It's not like Requiem for a Dream where you're like stuck in the sadness. It's played for funny, but when you look at like actually what you're watching, it's fucked up.
Torturous.
Yeah.
It's emotionally torturous, but you're laughing the whole time. Because you're like, wow, people like this exist?
Yeah.
But they take you through the satire away from it emotionally, but keep you invested in it. He does such a good job. And it was probably one of his least seen movies.
Yeah, I agree.
I never heard of it.
Yeah,
it was one of his last releases.
It was so when I saw it, it just like it was one of those things like you're sitting watching HBO and you catch a movie that you really like in the last 15 minutes, and so like you only get 15 minutes of that, but you planned on watching something, and then The Greatest Fucking Dad comes on, and you're like, oh, Robin Williams, all right, and then you just get hooked into this. Like, what am I watching?
Yeah,
what am I watching? All right, so moving on. Insomnia was my last recommendation there. It is time, Jezar, for your final recommendation.
Okay, so again, by psychological thrillers being my favorite, I would have been here all night with you guys. So I had to choose one.
You got to shave it down, pare it down.
And the ones I'm choosing, by far, not my favorites. These are just ones that I feel like go
representative.
Under the radar. They go under the radar.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I'm looking for the ones that kind of go under the radar.
Right, because some of them, it's like, well, I hope at this point everybody...
You've seen it. Yeah, like definitely Devil's Advocate. I was not going to do that because if you haven't seen that, shame on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but this one's called The Gift. It was done in 2015.
Yeah, with Jason Bateman.
Yes, Jason Bateman and Joel Edgerton.
Edgerton,
yes, and Rebecca Hall. This film was great to me. I again, it's the films that most people wouldn't talk about.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, did anybody see this one? Because this is actually really good. Like,
it went under the radar. And I'll be honest, it's been recommended to me so many times, and I've not avoided it. I just haven't hit play yet.
Okay, so I got you all three now.
Yes.
But you got me all three too, actually. Because I didn't see none of yours. No, wait, because what was your first one?
My first one
I had seen Fallen. I just need
yeah.
to check. Okay, but so The Gift is a married couple, Robin, played by Rebecca Hall, unexpectedly encounter Gordo, which is played by Joel Edgerton. Is that how you say that?
Joel Edgerton. He also wrote and directed this.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't peep that. As an acquaintance from Simon's past, little do they know, their perfect lives will be thrown into a terrifying tailspin. At first, Simon doesn't recognize Gordo. But after a troubling series of uninvited encounters and a mysterious gift, a horrifying secret emerged. As Robin learns what really happened between Simon and Gordo, she begins to question how well she knows her spouse. Did you see that one?
Yeah, this was on my honorable mentions, honestly. It was so good. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's amazing.
So, yes, I absolutely love that one. This one kind of gives that backstory of
you know the actors. What were the lead actors?
Jason Bateman and
Rebecca. You said Rebecca Hall and
yes.
Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, they were so good in that. I was just making sure that I had the right movie.
Yeah, because there's another movie
very
from the
close
early
to it called
2000s.
The Box.
Oh, The Box.
Forgot about that one too.
Very close to The Gift, but different completely. But like in the present, like the first act is the same, the story arc is the same, but the acting out, the story's different, right?
Absolutely.
Same
nice
basic
twist too.
plot line, kind of like you're torturing people you don't know for the sake of
exactly. But then you find out it's backstories to it.
Yes,
I'm always like I'm very good on
The
good
Gift,
backstory.
and honestly, I would say The Gift would outweigh, in my opinion, the box was better done.
Let me look at the box. I need to find out which one.
Is that the one with Cameron Diaz?
Yes, Cameron Diaz.
Okay.
Which is still good.
I never ended up watching that one.
But similar movies,
Yeah.
Volcano, Dante's Peak,
Yeah.
Deep Impact, Armageddon. You know how studios are always competing. That's,
All the time.
That's the only comparison I would make, honestly.
Okay, yeah. I think I missed the box too. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
I would, yeah, worth it.
Is it worth it?
Oh yeah,
The box?
I've watched it twice.
Okay.
If I watched it more than once, you know.
Those are the rules.
That's it.
And is it my turn?
Yeah, because I don't have anything to say about The Gift. Unfortunately, I mentioned I haven't seen it
I mean,
yet.
all I have to say is Jason Bateman is a genius, and if you don't know that, go find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one I've avoided because I didn't want to watch it. I just haven't seen it
Jason
yet.
Bateman is just, as an actor, emotionally genius, dude. Because he's just as funny as Robin Williams, but he never painted himself as a comedy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he grew up in comedy.
Yeah, but he
then
was
he
a child actor.
Phased out, and then he came back.
Yeah, because it's, dude, for a comedian, somebody who's good at comedy, drama's easier.
Yeah.
Because you can find the funny points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People who don't know comedy can't bring drama that third layer. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And that's, of course he shined there, dude. Because he was so, he's just, because he's deprecating.
Yeah.
It's that self-deprecation that he has, that Jason Bateman has. Just, I just love him. His first directorial debut, watch that shit, bad words. Anyway, so do I do 2000 or 2004? I'm going to ask you guys.
Dude, what's the difference? You're staying in that fight.
What's the difference?
Yeah, pick
like
one.
there ain't no fuck. Okay, so The Butterfly Effect, 2004.
Okay.
Ooh,
I did
okay.
see that one. You finally said when I seen. Good God.
Ashton Kutcher, Amy Smart, yeah. So
The Butterfly
college
Effect was
student
really good.
Evan Treborn is afflicted with headaches so painful that he frequently blacks out. While unconscious, Evan is able to travel back in time to difficult moments of his childhood, only trauma moments, by the way. So he can also alter the past for friends like Kayla, Amy Smart, who was molested by her father, Eric Stoltz, who does an amazing job as being really creepy.
Super creepy.
But changing the past can drastically alter the present, and Evan finds himself in nightmarish alternate realities, including one where he's locked away in prison. Also one where he's paraplegic, like straight up like amputated.
Yeah.
He has nubs.
Well, because each decision he changes has that butterfly effect, and then
Yeah.
you see
A
the
little change in the past comes to a big change when he returns to the present, and
Right.
he's destroying his friends' lives and his in the making.
This movie ultimately was the reason why I stopped saying, I wish I could go back in time.
fair enough.
Yeah, it was the one, it was the movie that made me feel like you just be
Fair
okay with the
as
decisions
fuck.
you made
Like,
and keep moving forward.
This is
you
one
know?
that was like, oh, it ain't like Back to the Future.
Yeah, there's very little consequence in Back to the Future.
Yeah, exactly.
Some, but very little.
Well, I mean, arguably, there have been discussions that Back to the Future is one of the most perfect movies ever made because it gives you this fantasy
Yeah.
and science behind it, but never breaks the delusion between the two.
Right.
Which so many movies that try to be so scientific, like this one, do kind of do.
Yeah.
But if they do the drama and the action well enough, that disbelief can be suspended.
Yeah.
Back to the Future never gave us that disbelief, not till number 3, I think. Anyway, but at that point, you're in.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So for me, Butterfly Effect, my experience with Butterfly Effect, first off, I love the movie, and I second or third the recommendation. But in
Ethan
conversations...
Suplee was my favorite part.
Yes.
Rabbit. Yeah, the college roommate.
I grew up with Ethan as like one of the two thugs on TGI Friday beating up Corey and his friends on Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
Right? So when I started seeing him in like this role specifically, I was like, holy shit, this guy who was just a barely there fumbling goofball has like some actual acting prowess.
Yeah.
And like...
So like I discovered Boy Meets World after I saw him in Mallrats and American
Fair
History
enough.
X. So I saw him as, ooh, he's working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But Butterfly Effect, I've had to defend quite a bit because, Ashton Kutcher, I think, is probably a key factor there, having come off of that 70s show and being a quote-unquote hottie, and this was not a hot role.
Right.
No.
Right? So there's that.
That's why I took it, though.
but his performance in that sold me that. Like, I'm surprised I have not seen him in an acting role of that caliber since then.
He did 2 movies off of that 70s show before this one, maybe 3. And he got told that he is not leading man material, but he had already made the deals, right? So he's off the show, like the show wraps, they're done. He signs his 3 deals. He does 3. He goes back home for a year because he feels like a fraud. Because TV was so easy for me because it got handed to him.
Right.
Now he's not leading man material, and he keeps hearing this. And he took this movie and he changed everybody's fucking mind.
So his performance is one of the reasons. The risks that they take in talking about his childhood friends and the things that they're struggling through, I think was heavy material. So I think that turned people off. But the way the film handles it, the way the film handles it is so well done because, like Jezar said, it basically conveys to you that while it would be great to go back and change things, you never really consider changing things. What you really want is to change results.
Yeah.
You want to change results. Like, you're not happy with where you are today, so I wish I could have. And this shows you what else,
the ripple effect.
Yeah, what else could be at risk if you change
this.
that.
25 years later, everything you wanted to fix that for doesn't even fucking exist anymore.
Exactly.
So I
So much worse
love
off
the
for
movie.
one happy moment.
Yeah.
I love the movie, and the version that I would recommend. We're in a streaming world now. The last time I saw it was on DVD, so I had a choice
You
to
have
go
to
back
do
and
this.
watch the director's cut
Have to.
ending
Yeah.
because the director's cut ending is just so brutal, and to me fits what you learned throughout the film.
It fits the story. Fuck that audience-driven, studio-driven.
You know, the Hollywood happy
theatrical
ending.
Fuck that.
The Hollywood happy ending actually, to me, washes away the lesson that you spent the last hour and a half
Precisely.
watching.
My opinion, too.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a great choice, and I'm glad that you recommended it because I think that's probably an underwatched movie. I'm trying to fill in the list on where we can watch some of these things.
You know, that's kind of my specialty is bringing
And
up the ones
that's
that
what Jezar and I were
forgotten by
talking about.
history. You know,
Yeah.
it was well received. Aside from its darkness, that's why if you get a negative review because somebody was like, "Well, it's Ashton Kutcher and he's hot," and I didn't want to cry.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
So I
Heaven
am
forbid
now.
art teach you something about yourself. Heaven fucking forbid, right? That's what we're doing it for, people.
Yeah. I am now torn between 2 films. So give me a moment because I like them both. All right, now I've made a decision. I'm gonna go with. So this is from the guy who wrote Usual Suspects. This was, I believe, his first film that he directed and also wrote.
Oh, I'm backing this choice already, buddy.
And it was also in, believe it or not, the year 2000.
Yep.
Something about that, but Christopher McQuarrie's Way of the Gun.
Brian Felipe, Benicio del Toro,
Juliette Lewis, Taye Diggs.
Oh my God, James Caan,
Jeffrey Lewis, Nikki Cott,
such a good fucking
Scott
movie.
Wilson, who I wouldn't have recognized
The
until
opening monologue alone changed my fucking life.
So, what is this movie about? This movie is about 2 fucking useless wastes of space, Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro, who are traveling, trying to just exist. And they do that by, they're criminal drifters. They just, whatever the next ploy is, whatever the next opportunity is. And they overhear of a woman who is pregnant, and she is surrogating for a very, very wealthy person. So they decide it's in their best interest to kidnap her. And from there,
the ducats are climbing.
From there, shit just gets wild. Now, I wouldn't call this an action movie. This is much more of a psychological play because of their battle with their existence in life. You have the involvement of the pregnant woman, who was played by Juliette Lewis, who puts things into question. She starts to fuck with their mind.
But yeah, you really can't go any further than that because as they kidnap her, each kind of like subplot starts revealing
so
these
many more
emotional
things.
connections and this torment that starts tearing at everything that surrounds the story, and it's
I really like this so far.
so good.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out too. I haven't seen that.
But you want to talk about a movie that hooks you in
From
the
the-
first 2
from the
minutes?
gate.
Oh, really?
From the
30
gate.
seconds, I'm in.
These two
2
pieces
minutes,
of shit, like they're your,
I was
they're your
like,
leads.
this could be 8 hours long. I'm watching. After
Right.
2 minutes, I was watching for 8 hours.
So what I like about this movie is typically the criminals are not our leads. They're not who we follow. They're not who we root for, right?
Right.
But that's what this is. And much like Scarface, where you know he's a piece of shit, but
nothing-
you are sitting back and like, I want this guy to win because I'm watching a movie and I have that freedom.
When the anti-hero is the closest thing to a hero,
Yeah.
that's who you root for. And that's what this movie is.
Yeah.
They're
But-
bad guys, but ultimately they want the best out of anybody in the situation. So you start rooting for them. You start, you're like, oh, I kind of like them. They're funny. And then you start hating them. And then you're like, well, fuck. I mean, I would do that too.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
This one's
Wait till
an underappreciated movie from the early 2000s. And the reason I hesitated is because I really had to think when I put it on the list as whether or not it qualified in the psychological aspect of it. But it was on other lists.
Love that you added it because I didn't see that until 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And it became like Fight Club staple to me. Like, just, it's that good in my eyes.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a wild one. It puts you. Each character goes through their own personal crisis psychologically.
and just every performance is so well done.
I like that.
It's
Okay.
shot so well. Like, there's nothing, I have no complaints about that movie. I couldn't even tell you, oh, I didn't like it.
it's funny. The script is great. Like the.
And yeah, I seen it was a comedy, so it's a comedy.
It's
not.
It's human.
human.
And we can
Right.
be hurt and laugh.
So
yeah.
That's
so
what it is.
like this opening scene that we're talking about. It's not gonna ruin the movie, and I'm not gonna do it.
No, this opening scene
I'm not
is
gonna
so
do
good.
it justice. So I'm gonna just brief it. Because it immediately what is successful
You're right.
about
There's
this
no way to
opening
do it
sequence?
justice. It's so good. It's
The way that this opening sequence
seamless.
plays is it in less than a minute tells you who these two guys are, right?
And how desperate
It
and far
ends-
they'll go.
It ends with, and this is how I'll just truncate it. They hit a woman, okay, but fucking had it coming.
Played by Sarah Silverman.
Sarah
by the
Silverman,
way.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
But
She
that's
wrecked their
all I'm gonna
words
spoil.
verbally.
That's all I'm gonna spoil about that scene because the interaction that takes place between them, the three of them,
Yeah.
before they come out, and it's just
Fucking pathetic
you're
baby
in.
dick fuck.
You're in.
That's one line she says. Fucking pathetic baby dick fuck. That's one line.
So yeah. So
She's brilliant in her 30 seconds.
that was our list. I'm gonna run down the list, and then I'm gonna have Jezar roll our 12-sided.
Did I
Figure
do,
out what
did I
we're-
do my?
Your 12th? Yeah, I've got 12.
Oh, that was butterfly. You're right.
Yep.
My bad. Just because I want to talk more. I'm sorry.
Yep. And then after we get this, okay, so I'm going to give you guys a heads up right now. We might have to do a couple rolls as I've been doing some look here. Apple TV Plus seems to be fucking owning everything. And I personally will not get an Apple TV subscription to
nope.
just fucking watch something.
Nope, not doing it.
So if we have to roll twice because it's only available on Apple, that's why.
Well, I may have it on DVD, so don't fret.
Regardless.
I will go through my 2000 DVD collection boxes.
But I don't want to
before
put
I
our
pay
listeners
Apple
through
a
that.
fucking penny.
What's wrong with the DVD player?
There ain't nothing wrong with a
There's
DVD
nothing
player.
wrong with the DVD player.
No,
He just
I like our listeners to be able, if it's the movie that we're going to watch.
They should be able to
Oh, you're
watch
saying
it
they
as
can
well.
watch it.
Yeah,
Got you.
exactly.
Got you.
Most of them probably have Apple. Fucking pushovers.
I have Apple. I don't know
Yeah,
why y'all don't have
pushover.
Apple. Apple have some of the best limited series.
Because I
We'll
don't.
have to- no.
I'm never
I
gonna
can't-
pay
I won't do a
triple
subscription.
for something I could have bought last
I won't do
year.
a subscription for limited series. Like, so I had it when I'm
It's a lot
Apple,
of limited series,
I'm
so.
appled up now, right?
Yeah.
So in the time since I appled up, and
you
now
should have it then.
I had they give you a free year.
Oh, okay.
And then I went through it, and I'm like, wait a minute. There's nothing, like, what does the subscription get me? I still have to fucking rent shit. And they're like,
yeah,
oh, well, you know,
okay,
you can watch at the time, the 3 limited series they have. I'm like, I'm not re-upping a subscription to wait for their
3
content
series
like
that you
that. I'm
don't
not going
like.
to do
Yeah,
that.
sure.
And now I'm just bitter.
I got you. Hey, I get it.
Because they waited till after he was invested
Got
to
it.
throw billions of dollars at programming.
Yeah.
got you.
So I'm going to read our list. It started out tonight. Jezar mentioned The Perfect Toast. From there, we have The Cell, Fallen, Circle, look up Circle, The Machinist, The Number 23, The Guilty, Requiem for a Dream, Insomnia, The Gift, The Butterfly Effect, and Way of the Gun. Great list tonight, guys, by the way.
Such a good list.
Honestly, and we'll find out here in our honorable mentions coming up, but there are quite a few titles that I strayed from specifically and thought maybe that they'd become on the list from you guys, but you left fielded like I did, and I think this is a solid list of recommendations.
It's
right
a
here.
solid list.
I am
And
impressed.
Honestly, I shifted some of mine to kind of stay with, like, we created like a sub-theme almost unintentionally. I think. But that being said, like, I still love every choice I have in here because I came.
All right, well, hold up. You're always running and jumping. You're not listening. We're going to roll this dice.
I know.
Okay.
I came to bat with 16. So, yeah. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
You only let me
you go.
4, bitch. I got 12 more to go.
All right, go ahead and roll that dice. What's a number? I can't see.
Solid number 6.
A number 6. Okay, I'm very happy to see this one. Let me see where
did
it's
I
at.
finally lose one?
You did not. This is not your recommendation, if that's what you're asking.
Finally.
Does happen to be one of mine, and I'm happy to see it here.
Well, that doesn't help. I've seen
And
it
it is legit only available on Apple TV.
Oh no!
Well, you did that. It's your suggestion.
What was the suggestion?
It's the number 23.
Oh, I own that on DVD.
I know
No,
the
like
fuck you
hardcore,
do.
I know where that one is.
I do.
'Cause
I own
watch
it on DVD too.
Okay.
What's number 1? She called
Hey.
it audible, bitch.
Number 1, The Perfect Host. That is available on Hoopla for free and on HBO Max.
Oh, y'all gotta watch it then.
I'm with it.
Yay.
What was it?
The Perfect Host with
The
David
Perfect
Hyde
Host.
Pierce.
Oh,
man.
whoever's coming next week's gonna have a
Yeah.
great time because
Yeah.
that's a damn good movie.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that since I stumbled
It's been
upon
some,
it when it
yeah,
came
that's
out.
how long
Yeah.
it's been for me too.
You know, yeah, let's do that one. Let's take,
well, the dice has spoke.
yeah, the guest called an
I
audible.
won.
The dice has
I
spoke.
won.
All right,
I shall speak.
actually, you're not first up.
Fuck off.
I know.
This honorable mention.
This is honorable mentions, and Joe, he hijacks it at this point in the show.
Hey, do you really want me to cut the only drama from the show?
No. But I gotta put a stop to it. So Jezar, as our guest,
So, listen, I was debating whether this was a psychological thriller or not because
Okay.
to me it kind of falls under the horror, not even horror, but maybe a little gruesome.
okay.
But when you hear about it, it is actually a psychological thriller because the point of it.
Give
right?
me it. What's
Here
the
we go.
title?
It's called The Platform.
Okay.
Did you not see this?
Oh, I have.
God dang it. Okay. Have you
You
seen
can't
The
always.
Platform?
I'm looking it up right now. Is it The Platform or Platform?
It's The Platform, 2019, and it's so crazy. It's
I watched this during the pandemic.
Yes, in a prison where inmates are fed on a descending platform.
Yeah.
Those on the upper level take more than their fair share.
It's got Stallone, Schwarzenegger. How did I not see this?
Yeah, while those below are left to starve on scraps, and one man decides to
Good.
change the system. This is a crazy, crazy film. You can find it on Netflix. It came out.
Yeah, this
in
one says
2019.
Netflix. I don't see any of the people that Joe was mentioning.
My favorite plot hole is that you can just jump on the thing
Yeah,
and
who you-
ride it down to the bottom.
Yeah,
Like,
who-
you just get on the.
Oh yeah, well you named a bunch of people that ain't in here.
Oh, I was thinking the escape. My bad. They're very same. It's prisons that
Yeah,
prisoners
so-
plan to escape through.
But yes, this one is definitely a must see.
It was good.
It's very good, but it gets gruesome. Gets a little
That's all right. I like gruesome.
it gets a little gruesome.
I'm all
But
about the gruesome.
And you're more than welcome to name off all of
I
the
w-
ones that you had on standby. This is your
Oh
time
yeah,
to
run down the whole list real quick.
Oh yeah.
of course, I wouldn't have said it, but Devil's Advocate. If you just weird enough to
Oh,
not
yeah.
have seen it, I don't know why you
You got to
would've.
see Devil's
Great movie,
Advocate.
Right, The Devil's Advocate.
Al
What was the
Pacino,
other
Keanu
one?
Reeves,
Charlize Theron.
There it is.
Let me pull up my notes real quick.
Delroy Lindo.
Of course. I mean, I can't be the only one to say his name.
I'm just gonna bring it up every time. I'm like, holy shit, Delroy Lindo's in
He's
that.
in all
He's
of
in
it.
all the good movies.
Yeah,
Delroy
but
Lindo
I've
is such a-
always been the one to bring him up.
No, that's not true. I
It's
recommended.
refreshing that you did.
I recommended Clockers.
You did, but I said Delroy Lindo.
Gone Girl.
Gone Girl,
Yes.
amazing.
Amazing film. I don't know why anyone
I'm a
would have seen that
huge
one.
Casey Affleck fan. Ben Affleck's all right.
Yeah, that was a really good one. And recently someone had told me they hadn't seen this film and I thought it was crazy. What was it? And I was like, wait, what? You haven't seen it? I can't remember. I'm going to let you go because I can't remember.
Yeah, when you
But-
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I'll tell
speak
you,
up.
but,
I can be interrupted. I talk a lot.
No, it's fine.
So, Natalie Portman, Black Swan.
Oh,
Okay.
that sounds a good one.
Yep.
Psychological thriller, Last Night in Soho.
So that was the one I was toying between. It was Last Night in Soho or Way of the Gun.
So for me, it was Last Night in Soho or Butterfly Effect because they're both time travel.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Memento.
Yes.
On my list.
Yeah.
I went with
Fuck on.
Insomnia instead.
Now, and this is a newer one. If you guys have not seen it, with Chris Hemsworth, Spiderhead. on
So you
Netflix.
recommended that on another episode, and I have
Why
not watched
it didn't
it
make
yet.
the list because
Yeah.
I can't recommend to.
Yep, that's-
so good though. The Little Things.
Never heard of that one.
So
Jared
Denzel Washington.
Leto, Remy, what's his name?
Yeah,
and fucking
I
Denzel
didn't
Washington.
care
Yeah.
for it.
I loved it.
Yeah, so I liked the way it was made. I liked the performances in it. I thought the script was the
Okay,
plot. There was
I can get behind that.
that's
But
all.
I was blown away by the production
First off,
design and the acting.
I hit play because it came up and it was Denzel and Jared. I was like,
Of course.
okay,
Yeah, that's why I hit play. What are you saying?
but and they
Okay, moving on.
yeah, for another day.
Murder by Numbers.
Never seen that.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay, so Sandra Bullock, Ryan
And
Gosling,
Michael
and Michael
Pitt,
Pitt from
the guy
Penny
from
Ryan
You're Watching and
Gosling.
yeah.
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 And if you have not seen Murder
This
by
was the
Numbers,
movie where
oh my
that's because
God.
he started dating her after that. Ryan Gosling and Sandra Bullock
Bullock,
were a
yeah.
thing
They
for a
what?
minute. Yeah.
Never knew
He was
that.
young as fuck.
That's what got her to
Ooh.
leave Jesse James, her abusive husband.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You leave anybody for Ryan.
Well, you watch Murder by Numbers and you'll see why, honey. You shall see why. Shutter Island, Mark Ruffalo.
Shutter Island,
and-
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Ben Kingsley, Leo. Prisoners.
Hugh Jackman and
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
And what's his name? Paul Danko.
Oh, okay.
Right? And actually, my sister-in-law, Amber Crow, shout out. She did makeup for
on that,
Yeah.
Nice.
And Gyllenhaal hit on her.
Of course
That's
he did.
funny.
Nice.
She was like, I'm engaged. She wasn't after it. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Oh,
she
my
turned
God.
him down. Anyway, Identity.
Okay.
With
John Cusack.
Cusack?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't
Okay.
really like Cusack in it, but what's the heavier set dude, the bald guy with the eyes? That
Oh,
When you-
he
I
was
don't
in
wanna- no spoilers, 'cause at the reveal.
Yeah. So that's
Hard Candy
Hard Candy was
Yeah.
good.
was great. In the Cut. Let's go back to the night. In the Cut. Meg Ryan. If you've not seen In the Cut, you should check this shit out. Plus, you can see her name.
oh, that was Alfred Molina.
Alfred.
Oh
Molina.
no, you're talking about this guy,
Identity?
Pruitt Taylor Fince. Yeah,
Pruitt Taylor Fince, yeah. He's an amazing actor. But so my last two are In the Cut, Meg Ryan, and then Mr. Tim Robbins in Jacob's Ladder.
Jacob's Ladder. Okay.
yeah.
If you've
This is
not
this,
seen
this is
Jacob's
one of my
Ladder.
embarrassing moments. It's
Right.
been on my list of things to take care of, and
How
I just haven't.
dare you.
I know.
Jeez.
That man
listen,
gotta die for you to watch it?
Yeah. Well, no, I hope not. Stick around with us, Tim Robbins.
No offense, buddy, but you're close.
My my leftover list. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was just
No, it's just because
calling out-
he
calling out
fucking
people's
chose
deaths on-
Janet. That's his problem.
all right. Split.
Yeah, Split.
All right.
Okay.
yeah.
Dang, I didn't.
I
get the
did
list
have
right.
Memento, Mystic River,
Oh yeah, Mystic.
Sean
River. Very
Penn,
good.
directed by fucking Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
It's just a great one. Nightcrawler with Gyllenhaal.
Yep. That was one of the ones I was going to mention
That's the
with her,
second-
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, that's
And
so-
I was also going to mention Nocturnal Animals.
Oh, yeah.
He did like 3 in the
Of the
span of like
nights.
4 or 5
Yeah.
years that were just amazingly dark.
I've
and
previously
psychological.
recommended the original language version of this on our episode with Rodney. So this time around, I was thinking about doing the 2011 American version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Oh, so good.
Because I do
Yes.
believe that they are both movies that are worth
totally.
watching separately.
Dude, the only reason I didn't put Girl with Dragon Tattoo or Kiss the Girls is because they were too quintessential to the genre.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you haven't seen those and you're listening to this episode, get
Yes.
a hold of your life.
The Bone Collector would have been the one I would
Yeah.
have mentioned that hit that mark.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I've got a Denzel thing. I
Angelina
don't know if you guys
Jolie.
have noticed.
Have you not noticed that Denzel has a thing? Yeah, okay. It ain't you, sir.
But then I did Way of the God. Oh, Nick of Time. If you've never heard of this, it's a movie with Johnny Depp. The
So good.
pitch at that was that it was real time. So if you were to set your clock to whatever time it is in the movie, let's say the movie starts at 2:01. At the end of the movie, if the movie was an hour and 37 minutes, it would be 3:38 on your watch because it's edited to be in real time. So every time he looks up at the clock, that amount of time matches what's on your VCR versus runtime versus.
So you know how in movies sometimes they'll show something like somebody shooting and then they'll cut to a scene before and you'll see a little bit of action and then the gunfire? None of that.
Oh.
Direct transfers.
Everything is happening
Second to
in real
second.
time. So there's none of that like
Interesting way to
we're gonna
edit.
we're gonna go to LA and you know that's a fucking 4-hour drive because of traffic and you're there in a cut, which is how movies work.
Yeah.
But in order for this story to work, they didn't want to cheat how much time happened between things that happened. And I forget the plot line, and because I knew I wasn't
Don't
going to
grab
mention
in
it,
the keys and start
didn't,
the car.
but
You're walking out.
it's fascinating.
Gotcha.
And then I've got 2 more titles. Another one with Johnny Depp, and it was called From Hell,
yes.
which is
Sam Raimi, baby.
something that that wasn't Raimi.
That was Sam Raimi.
From Hell, you're thinking Drag Me to Hell.
Oh, Drag Me to Hell.
I said
You're right,
Johnny
you're
Depp.
Right. You said From Hell. That was
the
that
Jack
was
the
with
Ripper
Heather Graham
story.
and Jack the Ripper story.
Correct.
Yeah, my bad.
But the last movie was a little known movie that I picked up in the video store going out of business sale crusade that lasted over 4 years and just let me pick up a handful of movies for $20. And this is a movie called 1114, which came out in 2003. Forget when I got it, but
Wow,
1114
bro.
is a movie about everything that happens at this moment of 1114 and leading up to it. So similar to the movie that came out prior to that, which was Crash, where it was this...
Crash is a good one.
Right, where things are happening. If we're talking about the same Crash, not the car sex one. You're talking about the one
with
with Ryan
Ludacris?
Felipe and Lee. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
Crash or Traffic. Like
So it's
Dante's
there was
Peak.
this small early 2000s thing where once Crash came out, they wanted to do movies where like sub stories that lead into crossovers.
Like Babel.
This thing is it's just. I don't remember a lot about it. I'm mentioning it because it was on a list when I was doing research here, and I was like, 1114, what is this? And I played the trailer, and I was like, holy shit, I remember this movie. I remember loving it. So I don't have much to say about it. That's why I didn't bring it up earlier. But if you ever come across this as an option, watch 1114. It's
it
quite
will not be
entertaining.
easy to find.
No, because I think it was a
I
video
don't think
release
I've
at the
seen
time.
this since it came out, bro.
It's got Colin Hanks, Ben Foster, and Henry Thomas. So
Yeah.
it's like all you need.
Yeah, this is like
Patrick Swayze.
this is like
Fucking
around
Patrick
the,
Swayze
This
is
is
in
like
it.
Around the Fire or Buffalo 66.
Hilary Swank.
These movies
The dude from
star-studded, but-
Clark Gregg from Marvel. I mean, I'm talking like this is a who's who of 2003.
Yeah, before
Jason
they made
Segel,
it, yeah.
fucking Jason Segel,
Yeah.
Rachel Lee Cook.
I know.
Bro. So yeah, highly
Tell 'em,
recommend
dude.
it.
Tell them because they don't know. They don't know
Jezar,
what I know.
Yeah.
we have come to the end of our show.
Yes,
We
yes.
will be watching The Perfect Host next week and
Thank you for
discussing that with our listeners and our next guest.
Neil
So thank you
Hyde
for that. This
Yes.
is your opportunity to tell our listeners about anything that you've got available that you would like them to perhaps consume or enjoy or follow. How can people get a hold of you, and what would you like to promote?
Look, if you ain't following Jezar Riches on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, well, get with it. Tell them, Jezar.
Yeah, so you can find me on all social media platforms at Jezar, Jezar Riches, Riches. That is my handling for all social media platforms.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I try to keep it the same. You know,
Yeah, I try too.
But since we've been talking about psychological thrillers, that is my go-to as a writer. So I do have a film called Fatal Dispatch, which you can find on Tubi for free.
Yes.
And it is a psychological thriller. And
Great.
don't be
Brad
fooled.
and I both worked on that.
Yes, they
Such a
did.
good
Oh my
movie.
gosh, yes, because you were in it.
I played a cop in the opening of the movie. and
Joe's the
Brad-
first thing you see.
Brad
Yeah,
was the
he
grip.
is.
I
And
am.
Brad
I'm the
was,
first
yep,
man.
no, he was 80. Was it 80?
No, I keep grip. No, I keep
you
grip
keep
that
him?
one.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, Chris Warren.
normally he's 80,
Chris
but-
Warren was first 80.
Okay, got it. Well, so the thing is, this movie is deceiving. So when you first open it up, it will seem like it's race driven, but I guarantee you, if you stick
No.
around, you'll find out it's a lot deeper than that.
Dun, dun,
And-
dun.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
even goes, it surpasses that thought process. So definitely check that out. And again, just any social media things I have. I do have another film. We was taking a
Step at a time? Was that-
we was taking a risk with this one.
As we know, Jezar Riches will be back for a hashtag Set Life next week.
Yes, I
So
wanna do
if you
Set Life, Set
Please
Life.
comment, ask any questions.
But
So I want to say about your recommendation for Fatal Dispatch. I have to. So one of the things that I love about Jezar's stories and working with her is she subverts all expectations. So anytime I start reading a script and I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be like, I'm never correct.
I love that. Yes.
I'm never correct. And at this point now, I'm smart enough to know better, but I'm just taking you through because she's correct.
Well, on Birth of a Savage, which you actually did for CD, I did another small role in that.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I really enjoyed that.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
She does have several movies.
She
out.
will subvert your expectations because, I'm going to go ahead and shout that one out. Please watch also the Birth of a Savage. That was not only a lot of fun to work on, it is a phenomenal message, and it's an enjoyable female-led action movie. Action. I don't want to oversell action based on our last, but it's a humble action movie. But it has a message
Look, girl,
and heart.
don't you take that man's shit.
It's a message and heart that is just
Am I wrong?
fascinating. So Birth of a Savage and Fatal Dispatch, and
you. Thank
all handles on all platforms at Jezar Riches, and that's
Absolutely.
Jezar. Joe, how can people find you?
They can follow this podcast. I'd really appreciate if they went to our Printify at UFO.
You know I've got that coming. I've got that coming.
But
I asked,
need
how
to
can they
double
find
plug.
you?
I don't want them to find me.
Then we'll move on.
Joseph Sheldon Quick or chaotic_artisan on Instagram.
And I am at Beeford Clark on Instagram. You can follow the show at ufostudio.detroit on Instagram. You can look us up on Facebook at Unorthodox Film Podcast. And we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the breadth of all podcasting listening venues, as well as YouTube. And yes, you can go to our website at ufopodcast.podbeam.com, where you will find a link to our store, the UFPod merch. That's the bazaar, the UFO bazaar,
UFO
and
bazaar.
that's where you'll be able to find things like these neat little cups, our
Pint glass, we got stickers.
But my favorite piece of content
Thank
that
the
we have
crew.
is a Thank the Crew shirt, hoodie, and zip up. So
it's so nice.
anybody that works on set can represent themselves.
I gotta
We've
get one
got
of those.
it's
It's got 32 positions represented.
the concept of the crew being the backbone of any production. So there's a rib cage and backbone on the back made up of all the positions
Thank you.
and departments, and then our logo on the front. And again,
Now,
you can
I
get
do
that in
have
a
to
t-shirt.
correct Brad because he
a
always
hoodie.
says pod beam. It's pod bean.
Oh, my
like
God.
coffee bean. I don't know why you put an M on it.
I'm looking at an N. I don't know why I put an M on it.
don't
I'll be
either.
honest, I've never heard it before, but I heard it today.
You do it every time.
That's crazy to me.
Me too.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's crazy to me.
I would love to see one of those
I
shirts.
love that
I need
you're
that shirt.
literally doing something
Yeah,
that
I
need
you
to see
think
that.
is crazy.
We'll show it to you here when we wrap up.
I
So
tell him he's crazy all the time. He doesn't believe me.
last but not least, actually, probably most importantly, I want to hear from you guys. So please get engaged with the conversation. If you join us on Facebook, if you connect with us on Instagram, or any of these platforms like Apple and Spotify and YouTube that allow you to comment, engage in the
Patreon.
conversation and give us, recommendations, suggestions. What do you like to hear? What would you like to hear us talk about? Is there a genre or a specific angle in movies that you'd like us to dissect and make recommendations for?
Look, we're not infallible. Reach out. Tell us what we did wrong in your opinion. I'll have that conversation with you.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
If
Let's
we
talk
didn't
movies.
even mention in honorable mentions a movie that you totally thought we should have mentioned, this is your opportunity. We want you to be a part of this conversation as much as us. So thank you all for listening, and thank you, Jezar, for joining us.
Yes,
and
thank you for having
We will
me.
see you all next time.
Peace.